Nicholas continues here on ABC13.com, and also we're streaming on our free news app.
Let's get an update right now on the storm from Chief Meteorologist Travis Herzog.
Chauncey, I'm over here at the weather printer because it appears we just got our update from the National Hurricane Center. So I'll be walking. Don't worry, I'm gonna walk over here. I'm just getting it off the printer. So let me find my weather clicker and let's go ahead and do this. Thank you for joining us on this digital stream. The update from the Hurricane Center is we now have a 70-mile-per-hour tropical storm. Nicholas is almost at hurricane intensity. If we just get another 5-mile-per-hour bump, we're into Category 1 hurricane territory. And so Nicholas has 70-mile-per-hour winds. The barometer, oh my goodness, the barometer has dropped significantly, okay? So the last update, we had a barometric pressure of 1,000 millibars. That has dropped 12 millibars down to 988. And once you get to about 990, that's usually the threshold, a very basic rule for Category 1 intensity. So Nicholas is right on the cusp of becoming a hurricane, and it's still moving off to the north-northeast at 12 miles per hour. There's been no changes to the watches or warnings in this advisory, but we are expecting landfall to occur here within the next few hours, and that's going to likely be right in the middle of Matagorda County. So the maximum sustained winds have increased to near 70 miles per hour with higher gusts. So we're looking at hurricane force wind gusts possible here in Matagorda, Brazoria, maybe even into Galveston counties. And the tropical storm winds extend outward up to 115 miles from the center. So that covers a lot of territory north and east of that center. And with the way the center is tracking, those tropical storm force winds look like they're going to be moving right into parts of Fort Bend and Harris counties as well as we go through the night, and that increases the chances that we start to see some power outages. Once the winds start getting about 40 miles per hour, you know it, that usually causes issues in a lot of especially the older neighborhoods of Houston, where we have lots of trees that are very mature and they bang into those power lines. And so we're probably going to see some power outages through the night as well. So this is, yes, a rain hazard with this kind of a system, but we also have the wind hazard as well. We want you to be prepared for that there are going to be some strong gusty winds coming right up through Matagorda, Brazoria counties, into parts of Wharton, Fort Bend, and eventually into Harris counties as well. So that's the new update from the National Hurricane Center. Let's go over to the radar now and show you what's happening here. As Nicholas is approaching that landfall into Matagorda County, looks like just east of Matagorda Bay, we are seeing, again, all of the heavy rain off to the north and east of the center. And you notice this curved banding, as it's called. That is a partial eye wall that has developed, and that's where we're seeing the most significant wind and significant rain. So we just reported a wind gust over 50 miles per hour in Palacios as part of that banding feature. But I do believe, based on what I'm seeing on radar, that we have even stronger winds in this area of red that is lifting in towards Sargent, lifting in towards Freeport and the Brazoria communities, and eventually may get parts of Galveston Island as well. So get ready. It's going to be a rough night in our coastal counties. Here is the radar put into that Doppler mode. Anything that's green is going toward the radar here in League City and Dickinson. Anything that's red is going away from it. And so when you look farther out into the Gulf of Mexico, we have seen at times 100-mile-per-hour winds being reported about 7,000 to 8,000 feet off ground. Now what I'm going to do is zoom down and loop this, and where you see these dark shades of blue that look like they're spinning around, those are those strong winds that are in that 80 to 100-mile-per-hour range in that intense rain band, and that's what is swirling towards Matagorda, Brazoria County. So get ready. Again, we are going to see an uptick in the wind. The storm surge tide will come up as these stronger winds move ashore, and there will be the potential of some tornadoes in this part of the eye wall, some brief spin-ups of tornadoes. Now, in terms of our flooding, we have flood advisories out covering most of Matagorda County, parts of southwestern Brazoria County, another one covering most of Galveston County and parts of eastern Brazoria County. This basically means that low-lying spots have been taking on water and they're likely flooded. So those typical streets that you have to navigate around, they're probably taking on water, but it's not a rapid rise of water. Not yet anyway. We are expecting that the rain rates will increase as you see that big band of heavy rain offshore move inland. Those rainfall rates will be going up potentially as high as 4 inches per hour. You get 2 hours of that, you get 8 inches of rain, you've got some big problems, and that's why we're concerned that along and east of Nicholas's path, we're going to have the potential for some extensive and significant street flooding primarily, but creeks and bayous could also be pushed to their brink wherever that does occur. Now, this is a look at rainfall totals since midnight. We've had nearly 2 inches of rain in Pearland, about 1.5 inches at Bush Airport, 1 inch down in Galveston. Now we've seen about 1.25 inches in Bay City, just over 1 inch in Palacios. The highest totals are still offshore, but those will be moving inland to our coastal counties as we go through the evening hours and as Nicholas prepares to make landfall. These are sustained wind speeds. So over a long duration of time, we're getting winds of 12 miles per hour in Tomball and Houston, 9 in Conroe, 17 in Galveston. Then you get down towards Matagorda County, and now we've got 32 miles per hour sustained in Bay City, 43 in Palacios, 39 and above. That's your tropical storm force winds. 74 and above, then you get into hurricane territory, and we have winds gusting to 55 in Palacios, 40 in Bay City, 35 in Angleton, 28 in Sugar Land, 32 in Wharton. And as the core of Nicholas moves ashore, we are going to see those winds increase as we go through the night. This is the view from our Galveston seawall camera. A live view here showing the camera rattling around, catching a little bit of a break in the rain, a little more visibility than we had before. And you can see the waves are lapping up. It doesn't look terrible right now, but we are going to see conditions deteriorate over the next few hours. This is a rundown of your watches and warnings, and we point out the pink zone. That's where the hurricane watch is in effect, and Nicholas is just 5 miles per hour shy of Category 1 hurricane intensity. So it's possible here in Matagorda, Brazoria County, you're going to experience those hurricane force wind gusts, yes, but also sustained winds could also very near the center be at hurricane Category 1 intensity. The yellow counties, those are all where we have the tropical storm warnings that are currently in effect. That includes the second tier of counties inland for Harris County, and a watch out for Waller, Austin, and Colorado counties. But based on the way that Nicholas is tracking, I think you might dodge the tropical storm force winds and honestly dodge most of the rain as well out to the west of Houston. Storm surge warnings in effect for our entire coastline in the blue shaded areas. That's where we could see that unusually high storm tide that gets above normally dry ground. And we're looking at the potential of 3 to 5 feet from Matagorda Bay to San Luis Pass, and then from San Luis Pass all the way into southwest Louisiana, 2 to 4 feet of storm surge tide, including regions around Galveston Bay, especially the western half of Galveston Bay, given that the wind flow is going to be blowing water into Harris and Galveston counties and away from Chambers County for most of the night. The green counties here, these are your flash flood watch zones, and this is where we're expecting the most significant rains to fall. So if you live north of Houston and you're not in that flood watch, you're probably not going to get much rain tonight. You might pick up an inch or two, if that, but some spots northwest of Houston may not get much rain at all. In our coastal counties, meanwhile, we're expecting widespread 5 to 10 inches with the potential we see in excess of 15 inches falling just tonight. So these are your key messages. We've got a high risk of flash flooding from Houston, the south side of Houston, down to the coast and all of our coastal counties. So we're encouraging everyone in that zone to stay put tonight. Wherever you are this evening, be prepared to stay there through the night and potentially through a part of the day on Tuesday as well. Power outages will be possible as we go through the night. And also we are expecting the potential for some tornadoes. So make sure that you have your mobile phones charged up and you have a way to access weather information, a way to get weather warnings in case a tornado does spin up over your neighborhood. And we are expecting improvement by tomorrow afternoon. In fact, improvement perhaps by sunrise tomorrow for many of us, but especially by tomorrow afternoon. The whole timeline of Nicholas sped up by about 12 hours last night when the center reformed about 150 miles off to the north of the previous center location. So that's a big deal right there in terms of what happened with speeding up the timeline of everything. So we'll get improvements by tomorrow afternoon for sure, if not by tomorrow morning, and then continued improvements as we go through the rest of the week. And I'll go back off camera. I'm going to analyze that new update that came in from the National Hurricane Center, and we'll get you some more weather updates throughout the rest of this evening. In fact, we're going to be streaming continuously as we go through the night and Nicholas moves through southeast Texas and eventually pushes right over Houston and Harris County. So don't go anywhere. We're going to walk you through this storm. Our team of meteorologists is here, as well as our anchors and reporters that are out in the field. They are braving the winds and the rain, and we're going to hear from some of them in just a moment. Myra, Chauncey?
Yeah, we're going to hear from them now. As a matter of fact, Travis, we have our crew spread up and down all over those coastal counties there tonight.
We want to start right now with ABC13's Jessica Willey, who is live in Galveston.
Yeah, hey guys, just want to tell you what the conditions are right now. As you can see, the wind is gusting here in Galveston. We have light rain and very few people out right now. Of course, you'd always see people here on the boardwalk, or rather the seawall boulevard, walking, and it's pretty pretty empty. A lot of people heeding the warnings of city officials, county officials, asking people to get off the roads and at their homes as soon as possible. Many businesses closed here in Galveston. At the Strand, we saw sandbags, some barricaded streets. They really don't want people driving around there. That's usually where it floods when there is a lot of rain here in Galveston. Expecting 6 to 12 inches possibly of rain over the next 24 hours, possibly 2 to 4 feet of storm surge. As you're looking out into the Gulf, you can see the water is choppy. We usually see surfers about this time, right around a tropical storm or hurricane. None out right now. Again, city and county officials asking people to please get to their homes and stay indoors overnight and into the morning. We are live in Galveston. Jessica Willey, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
Yeah, Jessica, thank you for that reminder again about right now you should be at home and stay there throughout the night.
We're going to go out live now to Tom Abrams. He is in the Freeport area. Tom, what are you seeing out there at this hour?
Yeah, it seems people are listening to county officials here in Brazoria County and staying off the roads. They are probably hunkered down in their homes by now, which is a good thing. We know there are 20-mile-per-hour sustained winds here in Freeport. Our meteorologists telling us that the gusts are up to 35 miles an hour. We were on Quintana Beach just a little bit ago. That has been evacuated. All the access for vehicles is closed. It is substantial there in terms of the sustained winds and the surf. The surge they expect will be anywhere from 3 to 4 feet here along the coastal areas in Brazoria County. Emergency management officials here, who I spoke to a short time ago, tell me the Blue Water Highway, which runs right along the beach, is still passable, but they don't expect it to remain that way throughout the night. In Surfside, which is just a little bit northeast of here, we know that there was a wind gust of in excess of 40 miles an hour, close to 50 miles an hour, just within the last 45 minutes or so. And so things certainly picking up. There is a wind-driven rain. It has the salt in it from the ocean, and it is beginning to be a little bit more miserable here by the moment. So for those people who've chosen to stay inside and pay attention to what county officials have told them to do, they are smart because they're staying dry and they're staying away from potential road flooding, which we do expect here with that storm surge of anywhere from 3 to 4 feet. We'll be here throughout the night. We'll keep you posted. Reporting live for now from Freeport in Brazoria County, Tom Abrams, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
Tom, thank you. And of course, we can hear the intensity of that rain as those drops are hitting your microphone. Thanks for that live report.
We're going to go back over now to Chief Meteorologist Travis Herzog. And Travis, we know Nicholas is moving quite fast now. You talked about 12 miles per hour moving there to the northeast. And you talked about earlier how we were on the cusp of this tropical storm to becoming a Category 1 hurricane. Where do we stand right now?
Yeah, it still may happen, Chauncey. We are right there near Category 1 hurricane intensity. The winds are sustained now at 70 miles per hour. If this storm had another day over water, we'd have a big problem on our hands right now. We already have a problem with significant impacts both from wind, rain, surge, and the potential for tornadoes as we go through the night. Now, one thing that really jumped out to me was the dramatic drop in pressure that occurred since the last advisory at 4 p.m. So in 3 hours, the pressure went from 1,000 millibars to 988 millibars. When that number drops, the wind speeds go up. And so that kind of rapid drop in pressure usually can lead to a rapid rise in the wind speed. So thankfully, Nicholas is about to make landfall and won't have an opportunity to intensify anymore. But whenever a storm is intensifying as it goes into land, it usually maintains that intensity a little bit longer. And so that has increased the chances now that we are going to see some very strong tropical storm force winds make it into parts of Houston as well, as it is expected to track right up 59 towards downtown Houston by the time we get to tomorrow morning. So you see these explosions of storms that have occurred the last few hours northeast and east of the center. That's what's creating those pressure drops and those very strong wind speeds at 70 miles per hour. So that's the latest update from the National Hurricane Center. And as far as the track forecast goes, we'll go ahead and show you that since we haven't showed it in a little bit. But you can see there's this curve, this bend up 59 right across the city of Houston and Harris County. Now, if you live anywhere west of this track, you are not going to get much in the way of rain at all tonight. But if you live along along and east and south of this track, you could be getting significant rainfall accumulations, and that's going to be one of the big concerns in addition to the wind, is going to be that potential for flash flooding. But we've been focusing a lot on the rain threat. That's been well messaged. I think some folks, honestly, Chauncey, Myra, might get caught off guard by how strong those wind gusts are going to get as we go through the night, and we're likely going to get some power outages as well. They won't be long-lasting, extensive ones, but we could be seeing some spots that are down for several hours through the day tomorrow without power with these new winds that are gusting in here. So that's what we're looking at right now in terms of what the National Hurricane Center is telling us in that 7 p.m. update that just came out.
Yeah, Travis, and that's why we always tell people, hey, this is the time to really be prepared, because if you do lose power, hopefully you have, candles or flashlights set aside, and you know exactly what to do to stay home safely.
We're going to go back out to Ted Oberg. He is in Sargent. We saw him earlier there today, and the rain and wind just picking up there tonight. Ted?
Yeah, hey, Chauncey and Myra, we moved just a couple miles away from that bait camp where we were at, and it's actually a little bit more pleasant, if you can say that about a storm that's about to make landfall here along the coast of Matagorda Bay. We're at a gas station. This canopy has been blowing. You've seen these things go down in storms. Just, a big enough gust will catch one of these deals and it'll topple over. It's not in danger of doing that right now, but certainly it was moving a little bit ago, and you can see the palm trees moving behind us. The water down along the intercoastal is certainly up almost to the docks there, and across onto Sargent Beach. It is over the road in some spots, but not running over the road. In other words, the Gulf has not met the intercoastal, so it's not that much of a storm surge. At this point, I think people here are feeling pretty good, especially when you look at what's right above me and the fact that power is still on, and we've had these really severe winds now, probably for over an hour. The one thing that's slightly disappointing to see is that there are still an awful lot of people out still on the roads, and as a matter of fact, we've seen a couple stores open. This one closed within the last hour and a half, but just down the road, we saw one that opened within the last hour and a half, and that's amazing. The other thing that I'll just point out is it's really cold. These fall storms are sort of miserable, and because the temperatures, at least when the wind is blowing and the rain is falling, and it has for hours like it has right now, it gets sort of miserable outside. There really isn't a whole lot to see except trouble if you're going to be out and about, sort of looking to take pictures of what's going on in your neighborhood. I promise whatever is damaged in the middle of this night will still be damaged in the morning when the sun comes up and you can see where you're headed. And so that's just a friendly piece of advice. We did talk to one person who had gone over the bridge into Sargent, and he said it was a very harrowing trip.
It's starting to come onto the road, and it's getting really windy. I just came across the bridge, and I would not recommend going over the bridge.
It's an uncomfortable feeling with that wind.
Well, yeah, once you get on this side of it over here, it kind of fishtails your vehicle around.
That's a great feeling, 100 feet above
it. It wasn't.
And so do you think this is about what you expected, or do you expect it to be not quite this bad?
About what we expected, I think.
If you've been through it once before, you know what to expect with a tropical storm or a low-level hurricane. And I will tell you, for anyone who is down here near the coast, the difference makes a difference for what you will have gone through and the stories you will tell tomorrow and for months ahead. But it will not make a terrible difference in what you feel. The difference of 5 miles an hour worth of wind one way or another will not make it a more pleasant night if it doesn't rise to a hurricane level. It doesn't mean it's going to be comfortable or sound safe and easy in your house. It will still be a very uncomfortable night. I promise you, as someone who's gone through a lot of these storms in the middle of the night, it is a very uncomfortable feeling, Chauncey and Myra, because you just don't know what's going on outside your house, which is a good reason to make sure your phones are charged now so that you can check in with us throughout the night to see what's going on in your neighborhood and around our communities, and also so that you can get in touch with folks in the middle of the night to just let them know that you're okay and check in on them as well. And I think one of the things we can all do for each other, Chauncey and Myra, as we think about hours left to go in this, is make sure that we are checking in on people who may be alone through this, because it is an awfully uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah, certainly so, Ted. You be careful out there. And friends, we want to remind you, now is the time you need to be off the roads and indoors because Nicholas is headed our way.
Yeah, as you can see from some of our crews, some people are really getting pounded by this, and this is really just the beginning. We're still waiting for its landfall. Now, our Steve Campion is in Kemah. Steve, how is it looking where you are there? Any severe weather?
Well, it's not fun out here, I'll tell you that much. Listen, if you're going down 146, you don't really get the full effects of Tropical Storm Nicholas. But let's walk over here to show you where we are. You can see this is the Kemah boardwalk right there. And so we're on the west side of Galveston Bay. And that's really where you can feel some of this storm, the storm's intensity kind of make its way here into southeast Texas. Take a look at some of the waves out there. And, you know, it's interesting because, like I said, if you go a couple blocks away, people were at the bar, they were at the restaurant, they were at the gas station getting gas. They weren't really so concerned about what's happening out here. We did stop by a Valero Circle K. We spoke with a couple of people, and just take a listen to how they're describing Tropical Storm Nicholas this evening.
Yeah, this is crazy. I didn't, not expecting it at all. Just trying to prepare for it right now.
Do you care about the storm?
Do I? No, not really.
Are you worried about Tropical Storm Nicholas at all?
No.
Do you live in Bay Cliff?
Yeah, in Bay Cliff, yeah.
Are you worried about flooding, though? Because I was out here like a year ago, and last time I was out here, the water got pretty high.
No, I ain't worried about it. It's not, all it is gonna get is rain. Maybe ditches, a little bit of water in it, but that's it.
But the reality is here along the western side of Galveston Bay, these are low-lying areas. We're talking about Bay Cliff, Kemah, down to San Leon. So if this area gets a lot of rain and very quickly, it is prone to flood. You're looking live at the Kemah boardwalk right there. You can see the waves kind of crashing over the boardwalk. So really, this is kind of the best reflection of the storm's intensity out here. We're going to certainly monitor the situation. I will say this, we started down in Texas City, we made our way up here, up 146, and we didn't really have any problems. We didn't see any flooding in neighborhoods, but certainly the closer you get to the coast, the more of Nicholas you feel. Reporting live in Kemah, Steve Campion, 13 Eyewitness News.
Yeah, Stephen, clearly we can see the water behind you is very choppy. We can hear the wind. So, yeah, you need to be inside right now, and hopefully you're just watching and waiting and hoping that everything will be okay by hopefully tomorrow morning.
Yeah, you're watching our ABC 13 digital coverage here as we continue to monitor the weather conditions all across southeast Texas with Tropical Storm Nicholas about to make landfall tonight. Earlier, Chief Meteorologist Travis Herzog telling us that right now we were on the cusp of Nicholas becoming a Category 1 hurricane because the pickup in speed right now traveling at 12 miles per hour towards the northeast. We want to go right over to Travis now for the very latest.
Yeah, and what's the difference? 5 miles per hour,
Right.
you know, between friends. I mean, it's basically a hurricane where it's
Right.
coming in.
Yeah.
It's going to have hurricane force wind gusts, and we're going to be seeing very rough conditions in our coastal counties as we go through the next several hours. Matagorda is ground zero right now, spreading into Brazoria and eventually into Galveston County. Things are rapidly improving, though, off to the southwest and the other side of Matagorda Bay towards Calhoun County. Not too bad right now. And really, that's the story with Nicholas. This is the center, and it's not a well-developed, mature hurricane where you see perfect symmetry around that circulation center. Most of the storms are off to the northeast and off to the east, but there is an extensive wind field, very strong winds that goes out into the Gulf of Mexico, south of Galveston Bay. All of that is lifting its way northward and inland, unfortunately, right through some heavily populated areas here in southeast Texas. But it looks like Nicholas wants to track right up the 59 corridor towards downtown Houston. And so everywhere to the left of that track, you're going to see less impact. So the impacts will decrease significantly off to the west. Off to the east, though, brace for impact. We're going to have the potential for flooding rains and the potential for some gusty winds that could knock out the power for several hours. So there again is the lopsided nature. This curved band that you see, this curvature north of the circulation, that's a partial eye wall that Nicholas has been trying to wrap around into a full eye wall. It hasn't done so. That's good news. Otherwise, it would intensify rapidly. And so northeast of the center is where we're seeing the most significant rain, the most significant wind along the coast in Matagorda County, eastern side of Matagorda Bay. So from Palacios to Matagorda to Sargent, rain and wind. And for those of you that are farther up the coast, Sargent towards Freeport, the wind is only going to increase as we go through the next few hours. This is our Doppler radar estimated winds. And what we're looking at, this green-blue area, that's wind or air, rain that is moving right towards the radar site. And then the red is moving away from the radar site. This is coming out of the National Weather Service Doppler radar that is based out of League City and Dickinson. And that's what is sampling the wind field for us. And where you see those shades of blue, that's over 65 miles per hour. And at times we've been measuring over 100-mile-per-hour winds aloft. You know, this is several thousand feet, about 7,000 to 8,000 feet above the ground. But those kind of gusty winds can come down. They reduce in speed by a factor of about 10 to 15%. But you're looking at hurricane-force wind gusts sitting offshore that will be moving inland over the next few hours. And as I loop this here, occasionally you'll see these little shear markers twisting around, indicating there's also possibly some tornadic rotations trying to develop in this curved band of thunderstorm activity. And so there will be the possibility of tornadoes a little later on as well. So we declare landfall not when that eye wall comes on land, but when the center of the circulation comes on land. So by the time the center gets on land, the winds will have calmed down across that part of the coast where it does make landfall. In addition to the winds that are coming ashore, there's a whole lot of rain, continuous hours of rain expected here. We have a flash flood a flood advisory until 7:30 for coastal Matagorda into parts of Brazoria County, and then also for Galveston County as well until 7:45, a flood advisory. So far that rain has been mostly manageable, but conditions are deteriorating rapidly southwest down toward Matagorda Bay. Now, I just heard the printer go off, so I wanted to quickly take a look here at what came off. Okay, this is from the Storm Prediction Center. So the Storm Prediction Center is the one that makes all the forecasts for severe weather, for tornadoes, for wind, for hail. And this is what they're saying. They are saying for the portions of the middle Texas coast where we are seeing the center of Nicholas and this big arcing rain band come ashore of Brazoria towards Galveston County, they're saying that a watch is unlikely, but there will be supercell structures. Those are rotating storms within the storms that could produce tornadoes along a small portion of the Middle Texas coastal area east of Palacios for a time this evening. So if you're east of Palacios in Matagorda County, you're potentially looking at some supercell rotations that could cause tornadoes. So they say that as Tropical Storm Nicholas slowly approaches Matagorda Bay, they're seeing numerous cells, those little rotations I showed you. In fact, I'll just go back to that real fast. So these little blue rotations, these blue-green rotations you see here, that's what they're talking about. That these are, they're offshore, but they're moving toward the coast, and they'll be actually moving through the circulation towards the coast. And so there's lots of twisting in the lowest levels of the atmosphere as a result. So you can get these brief spin-ups of tornadoes. And they're saying that this is going to be possible here as we go through the evening hours. So there is potential that there could be some tornadoes east of Palacios for a few hours. So a tornado or two is possible. Otherwise, it appears that the environment that supports tornadoes will largely remain offshore overnight. So that'd be great news to have the tornadoes spinning over water and not over land. So that's from the Storm Prediction Center, and that's certainly some good news right there. So we'll keep a close eye on that for our coastal residents with that potential for the tornadoes. Okay, here's again the flood advisory. That's the two of them that are southwest of Houston, one over Galveston County. That basically means that the low-lying spots, they're taking on water. They're not rising rapidly, but low-lying spots are likely flooding. Now over Houston, eastward along I-10 into Louisiana, it's just light precipitation going on right now. Not bad for now, but once you get into this yellow, orange, red zone, that's when the rain rates are picking up, and that rain shield will continue pressing inland as Nicholas works its way inland as we go through the night. And so it's going to deteriorate. That's why we were telling people you could probably go about most of your business just fine on Monday, but by this time we want you staying at home, give you a little buffer to kind of get settled in and hunker down for the night. These are the sustained wind speeds. Tropical storm force in Palacios, near that in Bay City. And again, the strongest winds are coming in just to the east of Palacios, so over towards Matagorda Island, towards Sargent, towards Freeport, even maybe to the west end of Galveston Island, likely to get some of the stronger winds here. These are the wind gusts. We've got 55 in Palacios, 49 in Bay City, 36 in Wharton, 30 in Angleton, 28 in Sugar Land, 22 around Conroe and Huntsville, and 23-mile-per-hour wind gusts over in Brenham. Our live view from the Galveston seawall shows the the rain coming down kind of at an angle as the wind is picking up. You can see the waves on the right side of the image that are lapping to shore. But you also notice there's traffic still moving just fine. But if I'm on the island, I'm probably going to stay put now and not venture out because things are going to deteriorate. We do have a risk for flash flooding, and it's called a high risk for flash flooding. In this magenta zone, you've got a greater than 50% chance of being near a flash flood as we go through the night. That chance of flooding decreases pretty quickly north and west of downtown Houston, but all along the coastal counties into parts of Wharton, southern Fort Bend, southeastern Harris, southern Liberty County, there's that potential of some extensive and significant flash flooding. The high-risk days that are issued by the Weather Prediction Center, they're rare. They happen about a handful of times throughout the year. They account for 40% of flash flooding fatalities and 90% of flash flood damages. And so that's why we really take it seriously whenever we see one of these pop up locally. Recent examples of high-risk flooding would be Imelda and, of course, Harvey, Hurricane Harvey, which was the flood of record for the entire United States. Thankfully, Nicholas is going to be Nicholas, not Harvey, not Imelda, not Allison. Nicholas will keep moving on. And so by the time we get to Tuesday, the greatest risk of flash flooding, once we get beyond sunrise, will push eastward into the Piney Woods and into Louisiana. Our risk of flooding will be going down. This is a look at rainfall accumulations as we go through the night to about sunrise, and notice the sharp drop-off as you get away from the coast. 5 to 10 inches will be fairly common. Keep in mind these are generalized accumulations. You can easily get double what is shown on here. We've got 3 to 5 common from southeast Harris County out towards the communities around Galveston Bay, Chambers County, Galveston County. And then once you get north and west of downtown Houston, it quickly goes from 3 inches down to 1 inch down to less. If you're in the blue or the green shade, you're good. You're not going to have to worry about flash flooding. If you're in the purple to reddish shades, you're kind of on the fence between, yeah, it's a lot of rain, but we can handle it, and kind of tipping into, now we've got some street flooding and the bayous and creeks are starting to rise. Now, the good thing from the perspective of bayou and creek flooding in Harris County is that the watersheds, generally, the water flows from left to right or from west to east across the county. So it matters where the rain falls, but if it falls here pretty close to the coast, it quickly drains out into Galveston Bay or drains out into the Gulf of Mexico. If instead we saw those high rainfall totals on the west side of Houston, even if it didn't rain much on the east side, you would still have a lot of bayou flooding and creek flooding going downstream through the county. So it's mainly the east side, the southeast side, the south side where we're most concerned about the potential for creeks and bayous as we go through the night. There's also the potential for those tornadoes as we just discussed, and this is the zone that we're highlighting in red for that tornado potential. It's not a very high potential. This first shade of red, the deeper red, that's 2% chance you're near a tornado, and then a 5% chance in our coastal county. So it's a low probability, but it is a possibility, and so we just want to make you aware of that. And with the potential for power outages, make sure you have your mobile phones charged up before you go to bed tonight. Have a way to receive weather warnings and access weather information in case you do go under a tornado warning. Okay, here's a look at our storm surge potential. The orange zone from Matagorda Bay all the way to the west end of Galveston Island, San Luis Pass, that's 3 to 5 feet of storm surge potential. And then it's 2 to 4 feet from San Luis Pass to southwest Louisiana. So that's where we're seeing that wind-driven high tide that comes in around the circulation of a tropical storm or a hurricane. And so that's 3 to 5 feet of water above normally dry ground. Now, it won't go too far inland, but right along the coast, that is going to be a concern. Some roadways will go underwater and become impassable for a time through the night and into Tuesday. This map right here kind of gives us the risk of what kind of winds you could see. So if you're in that yellow zone, it's possible you could get tropical storm force winds, not very likely. In this orange zone, it's a greater chance you're not only going to get tropical storm force, but you might even get above those wind speeds closer to 60 miles per hour. And notice that goes all the way up to parts of through Harris County, the southern Montgomery County, southern Waller County, southern Austin County, parts of Colorado County, especially our coastal counties. So we could see potentially winds gusting 50, 60 miles per hour all the way into Houston as we go through the overnight, and that has me a little concerned that we might see some more extensive power outages than probably some folks were anticipating. Anytime we get winds above 40 miles per hour, that alone can cause the lights to flicker and the power to potentially go out in certain neighborhoods around Houston. So I do think that some of you are going to be dealing with power outages. So again, make sure that mobile phone is charged up. All right, I just got an update. Hold on, before we finish out here. So we are expecting things to dramatically improve as we go through the day on Tuesday. It might be pretty stormy for some of you east of Houston in the morning, then things improve as we go through the afternoon. Just got an update here of a flash flood warning that is in effect. And so we have a flash flood warning in effect. Let me get to this real fast, and then we're going to go to a press conference for the city of Houston. And so it looks like this flash flood warning, let's see if I can load this in here. This is going to cover Jackson County, Matagorda, and Brazoria County. So this is this zone here, coastal Matagorda County. You're under a flash flood warning until 10:30. 1 to 3 inches of rain has fallen. 2 to 3 inches of rain will be possible. Okay, let's get over to now that press conference from the city of Houston. I'm going to rotate out, take a break, and we'll be back with more weather updates.
Roadways clear. In terms of the Houston Health Department, all testing and vaccine distributions have been canceled for tomorrow. Solid waste services have been suspended. They'll pick up on Wednesday. Bark shelter and adoption centers are closed for tomorrow. The municipal courts are closed as well tomorrow and will pick up on Wednesday. And the city of Houston employees operating on Tier 1 status. And so with respect to all other employees, Tier 2 and Tier 3, they will work home remotely, but will not have to report to the city on tomorrow. But Tier 1 expected to be there. To underscore the gravity of the weather situation, a sold-out concert at Toyota Center was canceled tonight for safety reasons. The audience would have been leaving after 11 p.m. tonight, a time when forecasters say the rain may be coming down hard and streets starting to flood. So I want to say a special thanks to Harry Edward Styles, a singer, songwriter, and actor, who tweeted to his fans that safety must take priority, so please go home and be safe. So let me say a special thanks to Mr. Styles for putting safety before a sold-out show. That's the spirit that we certainly want to see exemplified within our city. Let me just say that this is not a new experience for those of us who have lived in this city for quite some time. We know what to do when these events come. Every system, every weather event is different. No storm is the same. But our preparation, in large part, remains the same each and every time. We prepare, we prepare, we prepare, we get ready, and what I can assure people in this city is that we are as ready for this storm as we could be for any storm. And I certainly want to thank this team for working together, and we'll continue to be working together through the course of the night leading into tomorrow until this system clears the Houston area. Now let me bring up Chief Buick. Oh, there you go.
Thank you, Mayor, for your leadership and the guidance that you've given us to us tonight here at the Emergency Operations Center. The Office of Emergency Management has been working with our local, county, and state partners for the last 2 days, monitoring the storm and talking about the resources that we're going to need. We've also been coordinating with all the city departments, and I'm here to tell everybody and the mayor that each and every city department has pitched in together as a team. It's a team effort out here to ensure that we're properly prepared to face anything. We cannot control the amount of rain that's going to fall tonight and tomorrow, but what we can control is our response to the weather event. And as the mayor said, the city of Houston is prepared to respond. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Chief Benner, HPD.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, team. Just want to say, and the mayor has said it, but I'm going to second that. Let's use some common sense and good judgment. Stay off the roads. It's not safe tonight. We don't know how much rain is coming in. We can predict it, but it may be much more. So a message to everybody, too. It's just not, we have enough resources out there to deal with whatever's coming. But those resources are to respond to individuals who are out there, but also to criminals. And a quick message to them. We have adequate resources to rescue whoever we need to, but also deal with crime. Please do not move the barricades. They're there for a reason. And the most dangerous time on any storm, and when it's flooding, is at night because you can't see. We say it all the time, turn around, don't drive. Definitely don't move out barricades. So everybody in the city, let's just be safe and let's be good Houstonians. Stay at home if you don't have to be out. Thank you.
Chief Pena. Fire.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. We just want to remind everyone, all our residents, to just remain calm. We are expecting a significant amount of rain tonight and through the night. We have all our resources. The Houston Fire Department has all our resources staffed up. We brought in additional personnel to staff up additional resources. We're also working in partnership with Public Works and Houston Police Department to ensure that we have enough personnel that are qualified to use these high water vehicles and boats. So everything is staffed up. I do want to remind the residents about the dangers of carbon monoxide. So in addition to the rain, we are expecting significant winds. If we have power outages and you're using generators, please ensure that those generators are at least 20 feet from your home and that the exhaust is not pointing into the homes. Carbon monoxide is odorless, colorless, but it is lethal, even in small amounts. So please be cautious of that fact. In addition to that, be cautious about using open flame candles in case you lose power. Have enough batteries and battery operated flashlights as opposed to candles. Candles are very, very dangerous, especially at night when they're left unattended. So be cautious of those facts as well. And if we get a significant amount of calls for 911 service, that taxes any system. Even as prepared as we are tonight for this upcoming storm, a significant amount of calls will tax the system. So be cautious about how you use the 911 system. If it's a medical emergency, if it's a fire emergency, a security emergency, call 911. If it's something that can be addressed in some other way, 311 or the non-emergency numbers to the communication center will get you the assistance that you need. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm going to exercise common sense.
Yes.
I didn't even see that.
Not climb over the cord.
Director Haddock, Public Works.
So, good evening, everybody. So, Public Works is definitely stood up this evening to support police and fire in any operations that we might do. We also have crews on standby and crews in place to take care of debris where we might have trees or anything that falls over the roadway. We're going to, unless it is a life safety situation, we're going to be out first thing in the morning to clear those up. We're asking for everybody to please stay off the roadways right now, to please make sure that the preparations that we have taken and the crews that we have in place are there to help support, but also that we don't need to call them out during the middle of the storm by allowing us to not come out because people have heeded our call and stayed home. We have the barricades out ready to set up if any of our underpasses do begin to flood. And like I said from the beginning, our systems are up and fully operational. Our staff is ready to respond, but let's stay off the roads and let's keep everybody safe. And we'll be here tomorrow morning to make sure that we can get everything back up and fully operational. Thank you.
Thanks, Director Haddock. And we've been also reaching out to people with disabilities through our STEER program here at the Office of Emergency Management. We don't want to leave out anyone. We want to make sure everyone in our city know that we're here ready and available. To the extent shelters are required, we are prepared to stand those up very, very quickly in the city as well. But all of our assets, unlike in previous storms where we had to kind of move assets from one area of town to the other. We've got assets deployed throughout the city of Houston, high water assets, and we're ready to move. But again, for those in our city, this is not a new experience, and so we've gone through these drills before. The best thing at this point, since we expect much of the rain to come overnight into tomorrow morning, is that let me simply ask you to please stay off the road, stay home, and that way you'll be safe, and then you'll be helping out our first responders as well. So let's just continue to be very patient. This storm is kind of zigzag in many different directions all day. It's another reminder it has its own personality, but we need to do what we know is best in keeping everyone safe in our city. Having said that, if there are any questions, we'll take them now, or we'll move forward. We're good? Okay. Thank you all so very much.
Just heard the mayor there, Mayor Turner, saying, quote, "We are as ready for this storm as we could be."
Yeah, and he brings up a pretty good point where he said, you know, this is really not a new experience. We have been through this before. We know how to prepare. We talk about this every time right before hurricane season, and that's why we always say make sure you have enough water, supplies in case your power goes out. But I do want to bring this up because Chief Peña, he mentioned this, and this is really important. He says if the power does go out and you do have a generator, he's like, carbon monoxide is one of those deadly fumes that you don't smell, you don't see. So you really need to be truly careful with that. If you do have one, make sure that it is at least 20 feet from your home and just take really, really, really extra caution with that.
We want to go out live now to Brianna Connor. She is at TransStar. Well, they too are monitoring Nicholas right now as well.
Yeah, that's right. The Office of Emergency Management is working largely out of this building at a preparedness level 2. That's the second highest level of readiness. I'm told they're in there with transportation agencies, as mentioned, police and first responders, ready to do what they need to, depending on what the storm does and where it goes. It's already changed several times since we've been watching it, and they say that's part of the challenge with Nicholas. In fact, I was told there was a crew on standby in Tomball that is now moving to the southern part of the county because it seems like that is where the brunt of the rainfall may occur. Meteorologists here tell me that they're really paying attention to what the rain rate is going to be tonight. They say if it all comes down heavy for a long period of time, it could overwhelm our systems, our creeks, our bayous, and cause that surface level flash flooding, which no one wants to see. But if we get some breaks in between the downpours, we could be in good shape. The thing is, we just have to wait and see as the storm approaches Harris County. Now, I also talked to some of our local humanitarians, Trey the Truth, Mattress Mac. They also are working with teams on standby, ready to respond in case things get dicey tonight. They're going to be backup, think of it like that, for these crews here with the Office of Emergency Management. Listen to what I was told earlier this evening.
If we get to that point tonight, that's certainly, yet to be seen. I think the chances of that have gone down a little bit today and shifted further to the south. But we can't rule out still, even at this point, of getting enough rain that we would have significant widespread street flooding, especially in the southern part of the county, and significant impact to surface travel with vehicles. And so, it's good that folks are pre-positioned and ready.
It's better to be safe than to be sorry. And so we've been giving you preparedness tips all afternoon as we prepare for what may happen tonight. You certainly want to be off the roads, and I can report there is some good news because we took 59 and 45 to get out here. We didn't see a whole lot of people on the highways. And right now in Harris County, it's just sprinkling. We haven't seen any heavy rainfall. The roads a little bit slippery, but again, no ponding as of yet as we continue to wait and see what's going to happen when the storm makes its way closer to southeast Harris County and southeast Texas. I'm Brianna Connor, live at the TransStar building. We'll send things back inside.
Hey, Brianna, before we let you go, just curious, I know you said you made some calls, you called over to Mattress Mac. I know the Cajun Navy said that they would have boats over there. Did you get a sense of what they were doing, if they were getting ready to head out at any point or any talks of that?
Yeah, when I spoke with them, they were actually on their way from Louisiana, and so they're just pre-staging at the main gallery furniture building. And so they'll be ready if they start getting calls about people needing rescues. They'll head out from that location. When I spoke with Trey the Truth, he said his teams are at their homes right now with their trucks, their boots, everything ready to go so that if and when they start receiving phone calls, they'll be ready to help people out in their boats and get them rescued if the water starts rising. Interesting to note, Myra, Trey the Truth said he was actually getting ready to head this morning to New Orleans. They were going to Laplace, they were going to Homer to help those people out who still are dealing with the after effects of Ida. But when he realized how serious things could get, so we could help folks closer to home.
All right, Brianna, thanks so much for that live report.
Now you want to show you some pictures coming out of Freeport tonight. This is from Tom Abrams. He's been out there. A lot of heavy rain. Of course, the winds are picking up out there. Storm surge also expected there in Freeport. And right now, according to meteorologist Travis Herzog, chief, he's talking about how we're just on the cusp of Nicholas becoming a Category 1 hurricane. We needed to get it to that 75-mile-per-hour winds. Right now, it's at 70. But like he's been saying, what's the difference? It's still going to pack a heavy rain and a lot of wind, and could also cause a lot of damage, especially out there for our coastal counties.
Yeah, and of course, you know, with us here, we deal with flooding so much. Really, it just takes a rainmaker when we can start seeing a lot of ponding and a lot of crazy situations out there. We know that Tom Abrams is out in Quintana Beach, and I believe he filed a report.
Hello again, everyone. This is Tom Abrams. I'm on Quintana Beach along with photographer Rudy Montano. The storm certainly being felt here in Brazoria County along the coastline. The surf angry, the wind gusts really consistent as it has picked up to what we can imagine are tropical storm strength winds. There is nobody on the beach, nobody within miles of here, actually. We know that Brazoria County officials have had meetings all day trying to make sure they keep the people who live here safe from both the winds and the surge, which you can tell the surf already high. We wanted to bring you this before it gets dark because it will be immeasurably more difficult to show you the effects of the storm once the sun goes down. But Nicholas certainly making itself known here in Brazoria County.
That was Tom Abrams. Thanks for the very latest out there in Brazoria County. We want to head right on over to meteorologist Rachel Bryers. And Rachel, the big question here tonight is we know we're waiting on it to make landfall, but where is Nicholas now?
Yeah, it's not too far right now from Matagorda County, actually. It is actually pushing to the north at around 12 miles per hour, so it should make landfall as we head into the next few hours. I would say kind of around the 10 p.m. hour will most likely be when it's moving on in, but we're already seeing that eye wall, kind of further out eye wall making its way into land right now, and that's what we are seeing, some of those gustier winds currently over to where Tom is, and also over towards, Freeport, Surfside Beach. Right now, max wind speeds with Tropical Storm Nicholas coming in at around 70 miles per hour, moving to the north-northeast at around 12 miles per hour. I'm going to show you the latest track here. So again, we'll be making landfall soon enough, most likely around Matagorda County, and then we'll continue to move off to the northeast, rolling through southeast Texas as a tropical storm, eventually weakening down to a depression as it moves just over to the east of us as we head into Wednesday, and then we'll continue off to the northeast from there. And here's a little bit of a closer view at where we are expecting landfall right around the Palacios area, and then again moving off to the northeast. So let's take a current view of what we have going on outside at this moment. We actually have numerous advisories as well as warnings out for our coastal areas. In Houston right now seeing some light rainfall, but all eyes right now are on that coastal. You can see we have moderate rainfall, also heavy rainfall, and you can even see more heavy rainfall that's about to push northward over towards Matagorda as well as over towards Freeport and over towards Lake Jackson. And we do have a couple of warnings in effect right now. First one, a flash flood warning in effect for Calhoun County. This does include Port O'Connor. Expected rainfall 2 to 4 inches in 1 hour. And then we also have this one, which was an advisory that actually expired at 7:30. Whenever they reissued this, they ended up bumping it up to a flash flood warning. This will go until 10:30 p.m. looking at Freeport, Sargent, Matagorda, and over into Palacios. There are observed flash flooding incidences going on in this area. Do not get out and drive if you live in this area. And then as we move a little bit further off to the east, there was an advisory over Galveston and Texas City. It is no longer there, but we are still looking at that ponding out on those roadways. Heavy rainfall also making its way up to the north over Crystal Beach. And we will continue to see these bands of heavy rain pushing on into the area as we head into the next few hours, continuing that threat for flash flooding. I would say the highest threat for flash flooding will be in our coastal areas, but we could even see flooding up towards the Houston area, or even up over to the east of Houston as well. And we'll take a closer look at that in just a moment. But let's break down the timing here. As this continues to get closer to us, again, making landfall probably around the 10 to 11 p.m. hour tonight, then going to continue to make its way off to the northeast. You can see this is showing you at around 1 a.m. So still seeing all of that heavy rainfall. And then as we head into the overnight hours as well as into the morning, a lot of that heavy rainfall starts to shift over off to the east. Could still see rain though as we head into the morning. And then as we head into the afternoon on Tuesday, we should start to see that rain chance decrease. Will not completely drop out though of the forecast. So we'll still have at least a chance for a few scattered showers heading into the afternoon as we head into Tuesday. So let's look at our key messages here. First off, there is a high flood risk for our area, especially closer to the coast. Power outages again will be possible from those higher wind speeds. Would not be surprised there, and we should start to see improvement as we head into tomorrow afternoon. So let's break down some of these rainfall totals for you. Now I'm going to start off with what's happening over into the northwest, where our rainfall totals are expected to remain on the lower side. So over towards College Station, Huntsville, Brenham, Columbus, about an inch or even less. Now in Houston, it's possible we could be looking at around 3 inches of rainfall. I would say if you are northwest of 59 in Harris County, you could be between 1 to 3 inches of rainfall. If you are down over to the southeastern side or even over towards Liberty, looking at between 3 to 5 inches of rain. And then as we head closer to the coast, that's where our rainfall totals are expected to be higher, closer to 5 to 10 inches. Now, these are not 100% set in stone. We could see isolated amounts that could be even higher. So that's why we are watching for that potential of flooding so much. And we do actually have a high risk of flooding out there for today. That's what you're seeing in this kind of pinky purple color. It does include the very southeastern portions of Houston, then down to the south, including Palacios, Angleton, Galveston, and just to the south of Beaumont. Now, we don't get a lot of these high risk days when it comes to flooding. It only accounts of around 4% of all days here, but look at these statistics coming in. Around 2 out of 5 of all flood-related fatalities happen on a high-risk day. 9 out of 10 of all flood-related damages also happen on a high-risk day. So that's why we are watching this so closely. We are expecting that flash flooding. We are seeing it ongoing, especially in our coastal communities right now. Now, as we head into the day tomorrow, that risk is going to start shifting back over to the east. You can see that 20 to 50% chance of flash flooding kind of in this area. Shifts over towards Beaumont as well as over into Louisiana. And then from there, as we head into Wednesday, we'll continue to see that flood risk diminish. Now, does it completely go away? Not necessarily, but it does diminish greatly. Next threat we're going to take a closer look at, storm surge, which is expected to peak as we head into the later evening hours of tonight. 3 to 5 feet of storm surge going to be possible between Matagorda Bay as well as over towards San Luis Pass, from San Luis Pass all the way over towards High Island and then off into parts of Louisiana, topping out at around 2 to 4 feet. That's a look at your storm surge. Let's switch gears and take a closer look at wind gusts. Right now in Palacios, close to 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts being reported there. Bay City close to 50, Sugarland 28, 33 over in Wharton. And as Nicholas continues to make its way closer on shore and eventually makes landfall, that's when our wind gusts will continue to go up. So look at some of these numbers coming in. This is at 3 a.m. This is showing a wind gust in Angleton of 93 miles per hour. So it's possible we could be looking at these very high wind gusts. It's also a possibility that we could see Nicholas try to really get that Category 1 hurricane status before making landfall. It can't be ruled out at this point. And so we're going to continue to see these strong gusty winds as it moves off to the northeast as we head into the overnight hours as well as into the morning hours of tomorrow. And then as we push throughout the day tomorrow, still going to be looking at some of those gustier winds. So that's one of our other threats. Then the last threat we have is that tornado probability. We will have that threat, especially in our coastal areas, of seeing an isolated tornado or two. We'll continue to keep a very close eye on that, and we'll update you if we do see any sources of rotation as we push throughout the rest of this evening. Last look at what we have going on over the next few days. Tomorrow in the morning, an 80% chance of rain. Heading into the afternoon, though, that rain chance does decrease down to a 40% chance. Then we start to dry out as we head into Wednesday and Thursday, and then we start to see a little bit more moisture making its way back in as we head into next week with a 40% chance of rain. But again, all eyes are on Nicholas, and we'll continue to keep you updated.
All right. Thanks a lot, Rachel. And it seems like Nicholas is inching closer and closer right here to our area.
Yeah. Right now we want to go over to Brooke Taylor, who is live in Richmond for us. Hi, Brooke.
Hi, that's right. We're here in Richmond, and over here, really a different story than what we've been seeing with our colleagues over near the coast. Just a little rain right now, nothing too much, but they are prepared for things to get worse here. Still, though, drivers are being asked to stay off the roads, and I'll step out of the way so you can see what we're looking at. Over here, we are at the intersection of Highway 90 and Grand Parkway, and just a lot of drivers over here, so people really not listening too much. It's been a steady flow of traffic. Now, I do want to mention we were at the Emergency Operations Center here in Fort Bend just a little while ago. It's been activated since this morning, and it is really all hands on deck over there. They are keeping a close eye on the storm, really just monitoring it as it comes closer to this area. Now, staff over there, including the fire marshal's office, the sheriff's office, police department. The major concern is that flash flooding. That's really what officials over there kept talking about. Now, Fort Bend is a flat county, so that's their main concern over here. County Judge KP George also there checking things out, reminding people about Tropical Storm Allison that happened 19 years ago. So in this case, it's not a hurricane. So some people, some residents we've spoken to say, you know what, we're not too concerned. But the judge wanted to remind people of that tropical storm 19 years ago, saying, hey, look, tropical storms can cause just as much damage, if not sometimes even more than hurricanes, he said. Take a listen to what he had to say to residents about staying home.
You know, communicate your emergency plan with your loved ones and your friends and family so that you have a plan in place. And so stay tuned, and that is the best message. And if you don't have to go out, please stay home. And tonight and tomorrow, we expect a lot of water coming down in Fort Bend County.
Yeah, as you just heard there, please stay off the roads. As you could see right here, drivers still on the highway here. So if you're watching this and you plan on going out, please stay where you are. The Office of Emergency Management echoing those same concerns. They also said right now they do have a plan in place as things progress. They have barricades, they have high water vehicles that are close to areas right now that are prone to flooding. So if things do get worse and as the storm progresses, they said they have those plans in place. We'll of course keep you updated with the very latest. We're live in Fort Bend County. I'm Brooke Taylor, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
All right, good news out of there. It looks like things are faring pretty well in the Sugar Land area, pretty dry at this point,
yes,
so
it looks
good
like
for them.
Most of it's going to be in the middle of the night. Well, hopefully most folks are home sleeping.
Definitely. But let's give you another picture right now, because it's definitely opposite of what we just saw from that Sugar Land report that we just got from Brooke Taylor. This right here is Freeport, one of the live cameras we have in one of our weather tracking vehicles, and you can see the windshield wipers going here. Wind gusts that we've been talking about and hearing from meteorologists Travis and Rachel, as well as David. This is what it really looks like on the coast here.
Yeah, they're saying some places in the coast seeing 60-mile-per-hour winds. Of course, if it hits 75, you start to get into hurricane territory. But really, the bottom line is the same, whether it's 65 or 70, 75. It's very windy, and we want to keep a close eye on whether or not people get storm damage and if there ends up being some power line issues. We have a lot of crews there in the Matagorda area, Angleton area, Freeport area, because as we showed you, a big contrast in how much wind you're seeing already and rain right there, as opposed to inland in the city of Houston, which, as we said, we really are going to see the bulk of this in the middle of the evening. You know, timing is so important with storms like this, because if this kind of storm hits in the middle of the day when people are trying to scurry home from work and trying to get kids out of school when they didn't know they were going to have to, then it becomes a major problem. In a situation like this, if people do what they're supposed to, which is go home and stay there, we ought to fare pretty well here.
Okay, and yeah, luckily that's manageable, but this right here, this is some of the storm surge from Matagorda Bay taken earlier here. And, well, I mean, obviously this road very close to the coast. And, of course, conditions are going to be dramatically different if you're on the coast versus 10 miles inland, 20 miles inland like the city of Houston is.
Yeah, Rachel was saying that we are likely to see 3 to 5 feet of storm surge along the coast with this storm. And again, it's still coming toward us. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on that as it develops. But yeah, that looks scary. If that's your street, you're nervous right now.
I don't think I'm cruising down that road
like the
anytime
folks in the
soon.
city of Houston feel good, but those folks probably feel a little bit anxious. We have a crew there on the scene.
That's right. Let's get a live report now from for folks there in the Freeport area. The rain coming down pretty well. Where our Tom Abrams has been stationed all afternoon and this evening. Tom, can you give us the lowdown on what you've been seeing this evening?
I'll make it succinct. A lot of wind, a lot of rain. The gusts more intense than they were when we last spoke to you maybe an hour ago. We can actually hear the wind coming off the water here. We are right next to the Freeport Marina. The latest information we have as the wind, sustained wind now probably exceeds 30 miles an hour and the gusts getting closer to 40 from county officials is that they do have some power outages. And we checked with both Texas, New Mexico Power and with CenterPoint. And between the two of them, we figure there are about 5,000 people who have lost power already tonight. And we know the crews are already working to try and restore power to some 5,000 customers who are already without it here along coastal Brazoria County. We do know also that they are concerned about the threat of severe street flooding here. Though I checked with Freeport Police, they've not yet gotten any reports of that. Still, they expect that will happen as the night progresses. This rain continues to batter the area as the storm moves ashore and to the north, and Freeport feels the brunt of it. It feels as if it might be the brunt of it now, but we know this is still in the early hours of what will be a very long night here in coastal Brazoria County. Reporting live from Freeport near the marina, Tom Abrams, ABC13 Eyewitness News.
All right, Tom. Hey, we did want to ask you because we can see the conditions that you're reporting in right now. And I don't know if you can tell, but things are dramatically different here in the city of Houston. We're not seeing the rain and wind that you are. Let me ask you, how bad is the wind at some points there, some of the wind gusts you're feeling?
Sure, so I checked with our team of meteorologists, and they told me they were exceeding 30 miles an hour, and that was some time ago. I can tell you when we were on the beach, the sustained winds were in excess of 30 miles an hour. I'm not a wind meter, but I've been in enough of these storms. You can tell when you're approaching tropical storm strength winds. We do know in Surfside there have been gusts more in the 60-mile-an-hour range, upper 50s, but it is more consistent here. While the gusts may not feel that much stronger, the sustained winds certainly have picked up here in the last 45 minutes to an hour.
And you know, Tom, I know you've been out there for a little bit this evening. I'm not sure exactly what time you arrived there in Freeport, because I know you've been traveling around. But did you get the sense that people in that community were taking this seriously and were trying to do what they could to keep themselves safe rather than taking risks?
Yeah, we've been here several hours, Gina, and we have not seen very many people out at all. In fact, when we were at the beach, we only saw one family that was trying to check out the surf. They've closed the beaches here on Quintana Beach, which is just on the other side of the intercoastal. They don't want people on the beach. In fact, I believe they evacuated that area. They closed all of the beach access points for vehicles, so you had to walk on to the beach. But it certainly seems people are taking this seriously. You know, we booked rooms here in Freeport for tonight, and as we were booking them, the rooms were filling up. And when we checked in before coming out here to the coast, they told us that the rooms were filling up very quickly, people being smart enough to get away from what could be a dangerous night if they did not listen to county officials and get to a safe spot.
All right, Tom Abrams there giving us a live report from the Freeport area there. Some water on the roads, Tom was telling us, even some power outages already that people are dealing with there. You can see the rain in his shot pretty much going sideways plenty of times.
It's good to hear, though, that people are trying to get themselves to a safe spot instead of chancing it. We saw what happened, you know, in the Louisiana area just what, 2 weeks ago, I guess it was now, about 10 days ago or so. But yeah, let's get a full look at the forecast.
All right, let's check in with meteorologist Rachel Bryars. And we saw some of the wind gusts you guys have been talking about, Rachel, really picking up down the Freeport area.
Yeah, and I've been talking with Tom a little bit throughout the night tonight, and just checked, and a lot of the info that comes down from Freeport comes from personal weather sites, and it looks like we are seeing wind gusts there varying between 30 to even 40 miles per hour at certain times, looking at sustained wind speeds closer to 25 to 30 miles per hour. But yes, that wind is picking on up, especially down closer to the coast, as it should be, as this continues to move north, getting very close to making landfall as we head into the next hour or two. So here's a look at the latest with Tropical Storm Nicholas right now with max wind speeds of 70 miles per hour. It is so close to hitting that Category 1 hurricane status. We have to bump that up to 74 mile per hour wind speeds in order for it to hit that Category 1 status. But either way, like Gina was saying earlier, no matter if you're 70 or 74 miles per hour, it's still going to bring pretty much the same impacts. You're still going to be dealing with those high wind speeds, all of that rainfall, storm surge, and also the potential for tornadoes. But now here's the latest track here, expected to make landfall as we head, I would say, into the evening hours, probably around the 10 p.m. hour, over close to the Palacios area, and then continuing to move off to the northeast as we head into the next couple of days, eventually weakening down to a depression as we head into Wednesday. So a little bit of a closer view here of where we are exactly expecting that landfall, and you can see it's over towards Matagorda County. You can see it could even landfall over towards Palacios or just over to the west of the Freeport area. Obviously, though, still looking at those very high wind speeds all around where this will eventually make landfall, and then again pushing off to the northeast. Now, in addition to the wind, we're also watching for that heavy rainfall, which we have seen coming down with all of our reporters who are currently outside. And you can see in Houston right now, light rain. We may see some of this moderate rainfall, though, trying to lift up into parts of Harris County right now. Pockets of heavy rainfall, though, over into High Island, the Bolivar Peninsula, as well as rolling through Galveston. And we have some more of that heavy rain that's about to make its way onshore, again, heading over towards the Galveston Island area. But the area I really want to look at is over towards Matagorda, as well as over towards Palacios, Lake Jackson, and over towards Freeport. That's where we are seeing some of the heavier rainfall right now. Now, Tom did mention he is over towards the Freeport area. Not a whole lot in terms of flooded streets at this moment. They are right pretty much on the edge of this flash flood warning. But you can see over towards Matagorda, Palacios. In this area, we are seeing flash flooding. So if you are in that area, do not get out and drive. You're going to be getting into a very, very messy and dangerous situation. Now, we also have another flash flood warning that will go until 9:45 p.m. for Calhoun County. This includes Port O'Connor. And then here's a look at that flash flood warning. And here's the data on it. Going until 10:30 p.m. Again, includes Freeport, Lake Jackson, Sargent, Matagorda, and goes all the way over towards Palacios. And again, there are observed instances of this flash flooding ongoing in this area. And then as we push a little bit further off to the east, no longer looking at a flood advisory, but we are still looking at that moderate to pockets of heavy rain. So it does not take a whole lot, especially since this area has seen so much rainfall over the past few hours. It's not going to take much for another advisory or possibly a warning to come out. So moral of the story, if you do not have to get out and drive tonight, stay home, especially if you are under one of these flash flood warnings. And really our flash flood threat, it pretty much is, I would say, I-10 and areas down to the south, with the greatest threat being in our coastal counties. So especially if you are in our coastal counties, just hold on, wait it on out. You do not want to get caught in this heavy rain. So let's break down the timing as we head throughout the rest of tonight. Here's a look at our future track here. You can see that heavy rainfall making its way onshore. This is showing a landfall, this one model, at around 10 p.m., continuing to see that heavy rain as we head into the overnight hours. So you can see it moving over into Crystal Beach, Galveston, and into parts of Harris County. And then it's going to continue to move off to the east as we head into the morning tomorrow. So we could still see some of that heavy rain in the morning, but then as we head into the afternoon, we should start to see it taper off. Could still be some leftover rainfall, around a 40% chance as we head into Tuesday afternoon, but it's going to be a lot lower of a chance than what we are expecting to see in the morning. Now, depending on where you live, though, that's going to change how much rainfall you could see. Closer to the coast, 5 to 10 inches of rainfall possible. In isolated areas, could be closer to 15 inches. Now, as we get towards the Houston area, in our central areas, that's where things vary a little bit. Houston's pretty much right on the cusp of whether or not we could end up seeing that flash flooding or not. So that's why we are asking everybody to, kind of hang out at home, because the potential is there. Really, though, once you get off to the northwest of Houston and the northwestern portions of Harris County, we start to see a little bit more of a drop off. 1 to 3 inches of rainfall possible there. Head up towards Huntsville, College Station, Brenham, less than an inch of rainfall. But if you are included in this flash flood watch, you have that potential of seeing this flash flooding tonight. And you can see this does extend up even into Waller, Houston, Liberty, and then areas down to the south. So again, kind of along that I-10 corridor and then down to the south from there into our coastal communities. And that really will be our main concern as we head throughout the rest of tonight, along with the winds, which are expected to pick up as Nicholas continues to eventually make its way on shore. So current wind gusts right now, You can see Palacios coming in at around 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts there. Bay City at 40, Angleton at 36, Tomball at 17, and then Sugar Land coming in at 25 miles per hour. We will start to see these go up as it continues to move on shore. This model actually trying to bring up a wind gust into Angleton at 93 miles per hour. So that just shows you that we could see even gustier winds as this continues to get on shore. And this also shows us that yes, with these gusty winds comes that potential for some power outages. So prepare for that. If you are still in good shape right now, make sure you have everything in your house ready to go. If you have your candles, make sure you know where they are. Also make sure that you have everything charged in case you do end up losing that power. And then as we head into the overnight as well as into the morning, still could see some gusty winds, especially off to the east over towards Liberty and Winnie. And then as we head into the afternoon tomorrow, could still see those gusty winds, but they should start to subside just a bit. But just get ready for it tomorrow. In general, we'll still be on the gusty side. And we also do have to watch for the potential of a few tornadoes. We always have to watch for that when it comes to tropical systems, especially closer to the coast. That's where the greatest threat will be. With that being said, it's not a high threat by any means. An isolated tornado or two cannot be ruled out. We will continue to watch for that as we head into the rest of tonight and into the overnight hours. So rain chance continues overnight going into tomorrow morning, keeping that 80% chance of rain in for Tuesday morning, drops to a 40% chance of rain as we head into the afternoon. And then if you are over that rainfall, I have good news because it looks like we will dry out as we head into the end of the week. But we will keep a very close eye on Nicholas and we'll continue to keep you updated.
All right, Rachel, one thing we did want to ask, I know at this point we've got a lot of advisories for different parts of our area. Are you guys getting any reports yet of some good, real flooding, I guess, to say, in any parts in some of the coastal areas?
We actually, through the National Weather Service, they have actually been reporting some flooding going on. Some roads actually closed a little bit closer to the coast, and that warning that we were looking at that included over towards Brazoria County. I'll actually go back to that and show you where exactly we were seeing that. But we are getting a few reports coming in from them. It's actually this one that includes Matagorda, Palacios, and Sargent, where they have actually seen the reports coming in with that.
Okay, well, speaking of Sargent, we have Eyewitness News reporter Ted Oberg standing by live. He's been in Sargent for the last several hours, and I don't know, Ted, perhaps you can give us more insight into whether or not they're seeing some flooding there.
I don't think they've seen much flooding, and as you can see from the lights around us at this gas station, the power is still on, so that's good news. It is not the case everywhere that the power remains on. I just bumped into Kai, who's been out checking on some of his friends and family, Gina, and I wanted to ask him a couple of questions. As you've been driving around tonight checking on friends and family, what have you seen and how are they doing?
Well, the weather's kind of rough. I wouldn't advise anybody to get out in it. A couple of them, the roofs are coming off. There's a lot of debris flying around, and it's just not a safe place to be.
And you said you have an elderly neighbor that you were checking on who's worried her roof is starting to
peel off her house right now. That's what I was just going to check on right now.
And how much water have you seen over the roads? Is it any of it running, or is it just sort of ponding at this point?
It's ponding right now, but it's going to be crossing pretty quick. You can see in the ditch right there, they're about full. So
yeah, no, the ditches are definitely full.
Yeah.
But and you said you've seen some debris flying, but no roof damage or anything like that.
Not yet. It's like it's about ready to start happening right now.
It's still early in this night.
Yeah, that's why I pulled over here. You're the only thing I've seen out on this road tonight.
Well, compared to other storms you've been through, Kai, down here, how does this hold up?
It looks like it's going to get rough.
It's going to be rough.
It does look that way.
I want you to stay safe.
You too. You guys.
I'd tell you to stay dry, but that ain't an option.
Well, I'm going to get out of here and then let you guys have the weather.
Thank you. Good luck. Stay safe. And I'm glad you're checking on your neighbor. That's certainly a concern that there could be some wind damage. You know, the thing with these storms, Gina and Eric, is that the forecast for broad areas don't necessarily tell you what's going to happen in one particular spot or how vulnerable one particular person's house could be, right? And so there are going to be isolated spots where there is some damage, where those ditches can't hold any more water and the water will rise up. What we have heard across the area is that there is widespread ponding here on the southern end of Matagorda County. And with this rain, wow, really coming down right now. With this kind of rain, you can imagine that the roads are going to certainly have some ponding, but we've not heard of any roads that have been overtaken by water at this point. Where we are right now is about 2 miles from the intercoastal, and that's significantly high enough that the water, even from the high end of the surge, would not necessarily come across, but you can see how fast and how much rain is coming down right now, and certainly that could overtake whatever drainage systems there are here, where I'm standing is basically coastline and ditch down at this south end of the county. Look, people who are still here, and by the way, there was just some lightning, or maybe it was a transformer going, but there people who are down here, they're used to storms down here, but it doesn't mean it's easy for them to go through these storms. You heard what Kai said. It looks like it's going to be a bad night. It is. At this point, the winds on my handheld wind meter are about sustained at sort of 30 and gusting higher than that. And it will be several more hours before this settles down, although by the time the sun comes up, at least where I'm standing, they should be able to get out in relatively calm morning and see how bad it is. And we certainly hope, Gene and Eric, that it won't be terribly bad. And I think, just as a progress report, it's important to point out that at least here along the main road in Sargent, the lights are still on. The wind is bad, but it's not toppling things over. Certainly haven't seen the normal things that we see, plastic pieces of signs flying around. We haven't seen that. Canopies like this one will start to wave in the wind and oftentimes topple. We certainly haven't seen that. It doesn't mean now is the time to let your guard down and say, well, it's all okay, because it's not. But there is at least some good news, or maybe at least some honesty, that this is not the worst storm that we've all survived. But it is going to be a long night, that's for sure.
I like, Ted, your distinction between flooding and ponding and kind of when we go from one to the other. But, you know, I want to ask you, because some people at home, when they watch our coverage of storms like this, they ask themselves the question, the reporters are telling us to stay at home. They're out there. It's dangerous. Give us some insight into kind of how you are approaching your evening and how you're making sure that you and the photographer out there with you stay safe, but still get as much of the story as you can for our viewers.
So it's a great question, I think a fair question, and one that my wife asks all the time. Not quite as nicely as you just did, though. And so I'll show you, David, they want to know how we stay safe. We have been in this spot, in this truck, for the last 90 minutes when the worst of the storm came ashore, or when it was at its highest. And we picked this spot, one, because it's high up, two, because it's well lit, and we can sort of, we can see how high the water is coming, and we can see if things are starting to fly, if the wind is getting high enough that it's going to cause damage. The other thing that we've done is we've positioned the truck so that it's a bit of a windbreak for us, so that we're not in the most severe parts of the wind. It's not foolproof, but it is, after covering years and years of these storms, and you can see the lightning offshore right now. After covering years and years of these storms, those are a couple of the things that we routinely do, and we'll look for a building to hide behind as the wind is coming in. And tonight, for the next several hours, there's some thunder overhead. This is the wind, the rain now picking up and intensifying even more, Gina. But as the night goes on, we'll continue to either look for this spot or another spot where we can shelter ourselves from the worst of the wind and the rain, so that we're not in it. And make sure that you talk to locals. Look, where are the roads that flood? You know, we can go A, so we can go check on them in the morning, but B, so that we don't drive down them. And we're not going to do a whole lot of driving. The farthest we've gone is about 1.5 miles between here and a bait camp down by the bridge. So this isn't a chance for us to go out and survey damage. People have been coming by, and we always ask them, you know, what have you seen and what do you know? And so we're relying on a lot of locals to get us information. It's a very fair question.
And to see how you guys get this done, Ted. Right before we let you go, in your reporting there, were you maybe alluding a little bit that the storm feels like there is a little bit of a lull taking place now in terms of some of the wind gusts and rain you were feeling maybe a couple of hours ago?
I don't think it's necessarily a lull. I think we are seeing momentary peaks and valleys. It's not necessarily sustained. And ironically, just the way that luck works on television, just as you were asking that question, it felt like they sort of turned the hoses up a little bit on us, and the rain got more severe and the wind did too. And I think that's probably what we're going to see now. I mean, the lightning that I've been seeing over David's shoulder is getting a little more persistent now. which I think, it would certainly give an indication that the storms are starting, the intense storms that had been just offshore are now getting close. We picked this spot, by the way, Eric. Sargent is not where the eye is expected to cross. Hurricane Ike, which hit in 2008 on this day, we were in Galveston and watched the eye of Hurricane Ike come right over our head. It was an absolutely amazing sight. But we picked this spot for this particular storm because this is where the intense wind and the rain are going to be some miles off the eye of this storm. So, no. To answer your question, this is not a lull. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to think, Ted, if your explanations there made your wife feel better or worse. I thought you were doing good on the first half of that report, and then you just dampened her spirits, no pun intended on the back end there. But nevertheless, we appreciate the insight you offered. And you guys, the bottom line is you make very specific calculations to try and do your job and get yourself home to your beautiful daughters and wife at the same time. Appreciate it.
What about one who's very disappointed tonight that Harry Styles isn't playing?
We have buried the lead because you're right. That is a big issue that this storm Nicholas has caused for people.
I have a 16-year-old girl who is very upset about this. So
rightly so.
All right, Ted Oberg there in Sargent for us, giving us some great on-site reporting in the worst of conditions there. And we always appreciate it. Another piece of information we have is for everybody down on the coast, Galveston area, they did not order an evacuation preemptively as we started to track Nicholas here. They let everybody stay on the island, didn't ask anybody to leave. Let's go ahead and hear from the Galveston mayor on that and why.
Looks like Tropical Storm Nicholas will be coming ashore, coming up here in the Galveston area later this evening. Early tomorrow morning. We're going to be expecting heavy rains, some tropical storm gusts, and some storm surge, but not a great deal. So we're just telling the citizens, if you're in a low-lying area that floods, please put your safety first and move to higher ground. We had not plans for any evacuation. We started Saturday notifying our residents that we were going to have flooding. The main event would be a heavy rainfall if we get that. And so we advised our residents to take precaution and move to higher ground.
Okay, so the mayor there making his argument that yes, Tropical Storm Nicholas coming ashore, but from the predictions that were given, they felt fine with the storm surge they were going to see and didn't order the evacuation.
Yeah, and our latest data seems to indicate that what he said and what he decided should hold up in current conditions. We have a live look right now. That's at the seawall right there, so you can see there are some people out, and certainly the water is not coming up onto the street there at the seawall. We also want to hear from our governor, Greg Abbott, about this storm and a declaration that he made today.
Texas game wardens and state park police officers are prepared to respond to areas affected by the storm to support boat rescue operations as needed. Also, game wardens are equipped with unmanned aerial systems to support rescue operations because of challenges created by Tropical Storm Nicholas. As you probably heard, the Texas Military Division through the National Guard have rostered personnel as well as helicopters, aircraft, and other facilities as needed to make sure that they will be able to assist with the challenges that the counties will be facing. The Texas Department of Transportation in coastal districts are on a 24-hour operation basis. They have crews ready to respond to any roadway issues. Currently, there are 3 roadway sections impacted by flooding, but don't suffer from closures at this time. It is unlikely that it will stay that way based upon coming events. The Public Utility Commission, at this time, the Public Utility Commission is in contact with electric utilities along the projected path of Tropical Storm Nicholas, and utilities have begun public safety messaging to their customers. There are no significant outages reported at this time. If there are power outages, it will be at the local provider basis. This will not pose a threat to the Texas power grid system as a whole. The Texas Health and Human Services Commission are working to provide ice and water and freight vendors on standby. They've activated systems to make sure that resources will be provided to those who need them, including making sure that we will have shelters available for those who may need shelters. The Texas Division of Emergency Management, they have set up 16 shelters on standby, ranging from the Rio Grande Valley all the way to East Texas, with additional shelters being placed on standby, and their status will be determined on an hourly basis. At this time, however, I'm going to sign the proclamation for the disaster declaration to make sure that the state is responding as needed, as well as the resources will be provided to local officials as needed. Texas is ready to respond.
All right, the governor there making sure everything's in place should we need it by tomorrow morning, and we're assessing what has and has not happened. But we showed you a live picture just moments ago of the seawall. Rain and wind hitting pretty hard. Yeah. We have our Jessica Willie there live tonight. Here's that picture we were showing you. You can see the rain under that street light right there, just about going sideways at times, but traffic still, you know, it is, well, it's 8:30 at night, yeah, and the wind really whipping up. So let's get some boots on the ground here with Jessica Willie there live. Jessica, what conditions been like for you this evening so far?
Well, we've had a persistent light rain for several hours and some wind gusts. We are blocked a little bit by Murdoch's here along the seawall, and you can take a look at the Gulf right there. You can see the waves lapping up. It's never ever been a situation of panic here in Galveston among city and county leaders, just preparedness. They've been talking to residents about being prepared for this, and that's what we've seen all day long. They have been asking people in flood-prone areas to make the decisions for themselves. If they feel like they could flood, they've asked them to evacuate, but no widespread evacuations. And we're told it's because they don't expect widespread power outages. And if we take a look down the seawall here, Wes, you can see all the power is still out and some cars on the road. Usually a lot of people with foot traffic here along Seawall Boulevard. It is empty right now. But the situation here, the conditions pretty light, light winds and some rain. It's fairly pleasant. The temperature is good. We're expecting it to get heavier, obviously, as the night goes on. They are expecting 6 to 12 inches of rain over the next 24 hours, possibly 2 to 4 feet of storm surge. But overall, right now, Galveston faring pretty well. Not seeing a lot of people out. It seems like people have heeded those warnings to get indoors and stay off the roads. Of course, Seawall is a great place to take a look at what a tropical storm looks like. So we have been seeing traffic along Seawall Boulevard, as well as that it's a major thoroughfare here in Galveston. So not completely empty, but for the most part, people are staying in. Along the Strand, we did see sandbags earlier and some barricaded streets. That's where it floods often. It is lower there when there are storms like these. But overall, again, Galveston looking good. Power's still on. The winds are gusting, but nothing too high, and the rain is pretty bearable. Guys, back to you.
All right, well, a good report right there from Jessica Willie live in Galveston. Everybody been able to manage the storm fairly well, and nothing too drastic in terms of weather conditions there.
Yeah, we hope it stays that way for sure. Meteorologist Rachel Breyer is taking a look now at how things are looking. I know, Rachel, we've been talking a lot about the coastline seems to be the area that is most threatening to people in terms of Nicholas. That's still the case?
Yes, and still we've been watching for the coastline over the past couple of days, and yes, that's where the most impacts will be. We will still see some impacts here, you know, north of the coastline over in Houston, just not going to be quite as great. So let's go ahead and let's take a closer look at some of these key messages that I have for you. Here's a look at what we are going to be watching. Again, we do have that high flood risk, again, especially for our coastal communities. Now, could we potentially see some instances of flash flooding here in Houston? Yes, it is still a possibility as that storm continues to lift up to the north. So we will have to watch for that as we head into the overnight hour. So if you are at home right now, just stay put. Let this go ahead on and move on through the area, because we could continue to see that potential for heavy rainfall. So again, a lot of this at the coast right now, but we could see it lift up to the north. So we'll take a closer look at that in just a moment. The other thing we're going to be watching will be the potential for power outages. We've already been seeing some of these gusty winds. We know it doesn't always take a whole lot. I know in my neighborhood, it doesn't take a whole lot of a wind gust to really cause some power issues. So we could be dealing with that as we head into the overnight hours, but we should start to see improvement as we head into tomorrow afternoon. Let's go ahead and look outside, though, at what is currently happening. You can see this moderate to heavy rainfall pushing inland right now, and you can see it even making its way into the southeastern portions of Harris County, moving through League City, Galveston, a little bit of a break there. Now, the heaviest rainfall right now kind of focused over towards Matagorda and Sargent, and actually Ted Oberg, who was out there a little bit earlier, was saying that he was seeing a little bit of lightning. And yes, we are seeing that right here, and that is about to make its way on shore. So we are looking at a thunderstorm here. If you are not 100% indoors and hunkered down, make sure you are, because this is going to be some heavy rainfall as it makes its way into Sargent and also over towards the Lake Jackson area. So that next little band of heavy rain will be moving on in soon enough. And also the issue here is this area has already seen a decent amount of rainfall, especially over towards Matagorda. Now, there's not 100% flooding across this entire area, but we are getting some reports of some of those flooded roadways over towards Matagorda. Again, this will go until 10:30 p.m. We've already seen some heavy rain in this area. Any extra will just continue to pile on. So do not get out and drive, especially if you're in that area. And then as we head over towards Crystal Beach, Galveston, again, they're getting a little bit of a break there. Light rainfall there at League City, though, seeing some of that heavier rainfall currently pushing on through, and we're going to see this slowly lift to the north as we head into the next few hours. So let's kind of break this down for you on our future track here. We're forecasting that this will probably make landfall around 10 to 11 p.m. as we head into this evening. That's what our model is showing here as well. Seeing that heavy rainfall, again, a lot of it closer to the coast, but again, could be making its way up into Houston and especially over to the southeastern portions of Harris County. Then it's going to slowly push off to the southeast. As we head into the morning hours, a lot of that heavy rainfall will be off to the east of Houston, could be over, though, towards Liberty as well as over towards Winnie. And then as we push throughout the day, that rain chance will start to go down. Could still see some scattered shower activity, but not near as much and not near as heavy as what we are expecting overnight tonight as well as going into the morning. So how much rainfall are we talking? Near the coast, 5 to 10 inches of rainfall possible. Isolated areas could see around 15 inches of rain. And like I was saying, these central areas kind of right along that 59 corridor, that's where it's still a little bit iffy on whether or not we could see flash flooding. There is that possibility, though. We could see between 3 to 5 inches of rainfall. Isolated amounts could be higher. Now, as we head a little bit further off to the northwest, as we push over towards, the Woodlands, Conroe, Wharton, it goes down a bit to a 1 to 3 inches. And then as we continue off to the northwest over towards College Station, Huntsville, around, I would say, an inch or less. Now, in addition to that, we're also watching these wind speeds very closely. You can see in Palacios coming in with wind gusts right now of 62 miles per hour. Bay City at 48, even some gusty winds over towards Angleton. But yeah, not much of a wind gust right now coming in Galveston. Probably still a little bit gusty, but not near as gusty as what we are seeing closer to that storm center. And as that continues to travel up to the north and to the northeast, as we head into this evening, we will start to see more folks start to experience these gusty winds. So this is at around 11 p.m. You can see as it continues to move overnight, we see those those wind speeds go up, especially over towards the coast. And you can see this is at 7 a.m. Still gusty over towards Liberty, close to 45 mile per hour wind gust there, 34 over in Winnie. And it's still a gusty day as we push into the day tomorrow, although the strongest wind speeds should move off to the east of us as we head into the afternoon hours on Tuesday. So let's break it down for you here over the next 10 days. As we push into the morning, an 80% chance of rainfall that will decrease heading into the afternoon to a 40% chance. And then it looks like we will really start drying out as we head into the second half of the week. But all eyes will remain on Nicholas. We will continue to monitor the rainfall pushing in, the wind, and also cannot rule out the potential for a couple of isolated tornadoes. So we will also keep a very close eye on that for y'all.
And Rachel, just so I'm clear, so in the morning as folks are trying to get ready for work, you're looking at gusty and rainy for people in the city of Houston.
It will be a little bit gusty still in the morning. In terms of rainfall, by around 7 to 8 a.m., not expecting quite as heavy of rain to come on down. So our commute, yes, should be dealing with some wet roadways, but I'm not really expecting anything too heavy coming down. But we all know it doesn't take a whole lot,
That's true. Depending on where you live.
Yeah, I was driving in this morning and it was very light rainfall, and it still took me a very long time to get in. So you still want to give yourself extra time on those roadways.
Thanks,
okay,
Rachel.
Thanks a lot. Let's give you another live picture right now of some conditions that are here is a picture from one of our storm tracking vehicles. This is in the Freeport area right now. And you can see the rain coming down pretty well. We've already heard from Ted Oberg earlier. He was down in the Sargent area. We've also heard from Tom Abrams, and we can see kind of a look around here. It looks like for the most part, wind's still picking up, but it seems at this point, flooding, not really much of an issue. Ditches are holding steady at this point, full albeit, but at this point, conditions seem okay.
Yeah, and that might be Tom Abrams' camera, because I know he's been in Freeport. We want to call to your attention while we keep an eye on that shot. Oh, was that lightning?
It was lit the sky up right there.
Want to let you know that at about 8:45 or so, the Galveston County Office of Emergency Management is going to update us on the situation, so we'll bring that to you. And then closer to the top of the hour, we're going to hear from the Harris County Office of Emergency Management to find out about how things look there. Earlier, we got a chance to hear from Mayor Sylvester Turner about how the city of Houston is preparing to make sure people stay safe.
The governor has issued a disaster declaration, and Harris County is included, so we'll move forward with that. Let me, from the very beginning, still encourage people overnight and into tomorrow morning to please stay off the road. Let me ask you to do that for us. That will help. That'll help you. So if you will stay off the road, stay home, and then it will help our first responders. So let me encourage people overnight into tomorrow morning if you will stay off the road.
All right, that was Mayor Turner right there. We've been showing some conditions, obviously, live right now in different parts of the coast. We saw Jessica Willey live there in Galveston, heard from Ted down in Sargent, but conditions were a little bit different earlier in the day as well.
Yeah, and it's nice to kind of get a look at things when you could see well.
Yes.
So Tom Abrams filed a report because he wanted to show all of you how it looked before night fell.
Hello again, everyone. This is Tom Abrams. I'm on Quintana Beach along with photographer Rudy Montano. The storm certainly being felt here in Brazoria County along the coastline. The surf angry, the wind gusts really consistent as it has picked up to what we can imagine are tropical storm strength winds. There is nobody on the beach, nobody within miles of here, actually. We know that Brazoria County officials have had meetings all day trying to make sure they keep the people who live here safe from both the winds and the surge, which you can tell the surf already high. We wanted to bring you this before it gets dark because it will be immeasurably more difficult to show you the effects of the storm once the sun goes down. But Nicholas certainly make itself known here in Brazoria County.
All right, good report from Tom Abrams right there. Almost lost his hat in that report. he managed to grab it right at the last minute. Let's give you this live picture again. But this is a seawall here down in Galveston, and you can see wind still an issue here, along with heavy rain that is hitting the coast right now. But we've heard from Galveston officials. Here's another picture right here of the Galveston ferry. We're told the ferry is still operating at this hour.
Yeah, so I guess that gives us a very dramatic indication that things are relatively under control and the conditions are at least perceived to be by them to be relatively mild.
Yeah, and you can see from this picture, I mean, the trees not
they're
swaying around too much, but yeah, it's definitely manageable from what we've seen over the years when different storms have hit.
Yeah, and that goes along with what the mayor said earlier today, that they weren't going to order evacuations because they didn't expect that it would be too bad. But we are still having some concerns about whether or not there might be some low-level storm surge there. I believe we have an earlier interview that Ted Oberg did. Is that correct? Okay, let's listen in on that.
As you've been driving around tonight, checking on friends and family, what have you seen and how are they doing?
Well, the weather's kind of rough. I wouldn't advise anybody to get out in it. A couple of them, the roofs are coming off. There's a lot of debris flying around, and it's just not a safe place to be.
And you said you have an elderly neighbor that you were checking on who's worried her roof is starting to
peel off her house right now. That's what I was just going to check on right now.
And how much water have you seen over the roads? Is it any of it running, or is it just sort of ponding at this point?
It's ponding right now, but it's going to be crossing pretty quick. You can see in the ditch right there, they're about full. So
yeah, no, the ditches are definitely full.
Yeah.
But and you said you've seen some debris flying, but no roof damage or anything like that.
Not yet. It's like it's about ready to start happening right now.
It's still early in this night.
Yeah, as far as I pulled over here, you're the only thing I've seen out on this road tonight.
Well, compared to other storms you've been through, Kai, down here, how does this hold up?
It looks like it's going to get rough.
It's going to be rough.
It does look that way.
I want you to stay safe.
You too. You guys.
I'd tell you to stay dry, but that ain't an option.
Well, I'm going to get out of here and then let you guys have the weather.
Okay, Ted Hoberg there interviewing that guy. He was out checking on everybody. You heard in the interview some other people that were saying they were having some problems with their roofs there.
Up in Sargent.
Yes, and you can see the wind was picking up where Ted is. Again, that's Sargent, but we also had reports coming in from Palacios as well.
Yes, meteorologist David Tillman, our chief forecaster, is in with us now. And David, I understand there was a tipping point beyond the 75-mile-per-hour mark somewhere in our community.
And it's happening right now. Yeah, this report just came in. It's just showed up on our system in Palacios. There it is, a hurricane-force wind gust at Palacios at 76 miles per hour. So this is absolutely verifying what some of our high-resolution computer models is saying is going to happen as we go through the overnight hours. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised in the next update if the National Hurricane Center doesn't upgrade Nicholas to a hurricane. There it is, a 76-mile-per-hour wind gust being recorded right now in Palacios. We're seeing the wind gust at 48 miles per hour in Bay City, 40 in Wharton, 36 there in Angleton, 25 in Sugar Land, and the wind is gusting to 22 in Pasadena. So those winds are really starting to howl with this system as that main band of rain and wind is making it ashore there near Matagorda Bay. For that reason, tropical storm warnings in effect for the counties that you see highlighted in yellow. We think tropical storm force winds very likely, certainly across our coastal counties, but even inland into the Houston areas we go through the overnight hours. But as I'll show you in just a little while, not so much for places like Brenham and Columbus and up towards Conroe and Livingston. Winds will probably stay below 40 miles per hour up there. Hurricane watch in effect. Again, we just had that gust at Palacios. Palacios is in hurricane watch. If hurricane force winds do occur, it will most likely be in the pink areas that you see. So coastal areas of Brazoria County, just about any place in Matagorda County, same thing for Jackson County, and counties and areas surrounding and southwest of Matagorda Bay, Port O'Connor, places like that, could see hurricane force wind gusts as this system continues to move inland. And with all that wind coming in ahead of the system off the Gulf of Mexico, the water is going to be piling up. 2 to 4 foot storm surge is very possible around Matagorda Bay, 3 to 5 foot storm surge from Matagorda Bay up towards San Luis Pass, and then 2 to 4 foot storm surge around Galveston Island and around Galveston and Trinity Bays as well. Here's a look at high tide times that we put together for you. This is for Galveston Channel and Pleasure Pier especially. Those high tide times will occur at just after 12 o'clock to around 12:30 in the morning. So at about that time, you've got this system coming in from the southwest. You got all this water piling up. At the same time, you've got high tide. So if we get 2 to 4 or even 3 to 5 foot storm surge water levels there, it's probably going to happen at high tide at just after 12 a.m. And those two places, Rollover Pass, that high tide is coming at about 6:23 in the morning. Flash flood watch in effect for the counties that you see in green. Our latest data is beginning to indicate that the extreme heavy rain that we've been talking about for the last couple of days may just stay for the most part over our coastal counties. Now, there will be some rain inside the city of Houston, inside Harris County, but it's starting to look like our coastal counties will be hardest hit by this particular storm. And by the time we wake up first thing tomorrow morning, I'm thinking places in Galveston like the Strand and Broadway will be under several inches of water because of all the heavy rain that's going to fall, and with no real good place for it to drain because we have this storm surge coming in tonight. In addition to all of that, there's the possibility of isolated tornadoes in the red outline areas that you see there. Again, northern areas probably not much of a threat for that at all, but farther to the south in Houston down towards the coast, there is that chance. Here is the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center. Maximum sustained winds in that band of rain topping out at 70 miles per hour, so just below hurricane strength. Pressure is at 988 millibars. It's moving to the north and about 12. We think landfall of the center circulation is going to happen between now and midnight. We're thinking at 1 o'clock in the morning, the system will be just inland over parts of Matagorda County. Now, the latest track from the National Hurricane Center has that center circulation tracking northeast towards the Houston area. I've got some high-resolution computer models that say it's going to track a little bit farther to the south, and that is the reason why our concern is beginning to grow that we will have the worst of the effects from this system over our coastal counties, but not necessarily into the Houston area. And then it's just going to slow down and basically slowly move through parts of southeast Texas and into Louisiana and eventually Mississippi. And because it's going to be moving so slow all the way into Thursday, well, flash flooding is going to be possible for all of those areas. The southern half of Louisiana, southern Mississippi, eventually will see heavy rain from this system moving through that region. So here is a look at where Nicholas is located. Just ahead of the center of circulation is where we have a very intense band of rain that's producing high rainfall rates, at times between 1 to 3 inches an hour. And because those thunderstorms continue to pound and train over the same areas, we've got a flash flood warning that's in effect until 10:30. So the main cities involved in that are going to be Brazoria, Freeport, Palacios, and Sweeney. So that's a flash flood warning that is in effect at this particular time. And notice how those thunderstorms continue to rotate into the flash flood warning off of the Gulf of Mexico. So this, even after that warning expires, I'm pretty sure there's going to be another one extended because of that. Here's a look at the radar estimated rain amounts from the Doppler radar, and it's saying right near the coast we're seeing anywhere from 4 to 5 inches of rain. It's already fallen, and the rain continues to pile up there. So someplace along the coast could get 10, maybe even 15 inches of rain out of this. The other thing that I'm looking at, you remember Ted said just a little while ago that he saw some lightning. Well, it's from these thunderstorms. We're looking at Doppler winds right now, and you see how these how the radar presentation here looks just a little bit ragged. Well, that's because the radar is beginning to see some little eddies and pockets in there of minor rotation. So a water spout could form with some of those thunderstorms moving towards coastal parts of Matagorda County and Brazoria County as well. And that's the activity that's spreading northward into the Sargent area. So coastal areas of Matagorda County, Brazoria County, watch out for water spouts, which could then turn into tornadoes as these bands of rain continue to rotate their way in. Now you go up the coast, you get past San Luis, passing into the Galveston area. The rain right now is not quite as heavy, but all of that rain I just showed you to the south and west, it's going to be working its way up into Galveston as we head through the evening hours. So even if there's not significant flooding there right now, I'm forecasting there to be some as we head towards later on tonight. Same thing for Texas City, down towards Tiki Island and places like that. You're going to get tremendous rain, and there's going to be some storm surge that you'll have to deal with as well. Over the city of Houston, you're right on the edge of the light rain that's moving in from the south. So we're seeing some gusty winds here in Houston. We're seeing some light to moderate rain. We're not seeing rainfall rates high enough to cause any major problems. And it's possible that the core range with the system, if the low does track right along the coast instead of up towards Houston, may just stay south of town. It's going to be very interesting to see the latest track that comes out from the National Hurricane Center at the top of the hour, right before 10 o'clock. At about 9:45 or so is when they will probably come out with an update about what's happening with the storm. If that track shifts to the south, that would really confirm what we're seeing in some of the computer models that our coastal counties of Matagorda, Brazoria, and Galveston, and even Chambers will see the worst of the rain and the wind as we head through the overnight hours tonight. Now, just a moment ago, I showed you an actual 76-mile-per-hour wind gust there in Palacios. So these numbers here that's being forecasted by our computer model, well within the range of what can happen. And it's saying that as we head towards midnight, we'll see tropical storm force winds covering the southern half of Fort Bend County, the southern half of Wharton County, all of Matagorda County, all of Brazoria County, all of Galveston County. And some of that activity will start to leak into places like Chambers County as well. It's forecasting winds to be gusting between 30 and 50 miles per hour in that corridor from Pearland up towards Pasadena. 3 o'clock in the morning, we still have these strong winds gusting to more than 40 miles per hour in pretty much the same areas. Could be gusting to 40 in Katy and into Houston and into Humble as well, but not so much up in Tomball and certainly not so much up into places like Conroe and Huntsville. So the core of the strongest winds are going to come up through Fort Bend County, Matagorda County, Brazoria County, parts of Harris County, Chambers, and Galveston counties, but maybe stay to the south of places like Montgomery County and Waller County and places like that. Look at 7 o'clock in the morning. Because that center of circulation is going to be slowly moving along the coast, we're still going to have winds winds gusting to 50, 60 miles per hour into places like Galveston. So first thing tomorrow morning in Galveston, you're going to have tremendous rain coming down and wind, and there's going to be substantial flooding because it's not going to be anywhere for the water to run off because of that storm surge that's coming in. Torrential rain, a lot of wind, and not good runoff means some major problems for travel there in places like Galveston and Texas City, up and down the Gulf Freeway, maybe even as far north as Pearland as well. It's something we'll be watching. Certainly the wind will be gusting there and you'll be getting some rain, but you might be getting some flooding as well. Here's a look at the power outage index. This is not something we show you all that often, but this is saying that about midnight or so, winds will be strong enough for power outages over Brazoria County and into southern parts of Harris County, Galveston County as well. That's going to continue to spread northeastward into southern Harris County, into parts of Chambers County, Galveston County too. But as we go in time, because the winds with the system will begin to weaken some, the capability of those winds to produce power outages is going to start to go down, and certainly by 7 o'clock in the morning and beyond, the chance of you getting power outages will start to go down, but the damage will be done by then. We're thinking many people will be without power. So here's the latest data that we're getting into the Weather Center. Center of Circulation is where it's putting it, right where the National Weather Service, the National Hurricane Center has it right now. And this is what's going to happen. This circle here is where the center of circulation, or eye of the storm, is going to be located at 10 o'clock. As we head towards midnight and into the 2 and 3 o'clock hours, even though the center of circulation is still down here, look at all the extreme heavy rain that will start to spread into Galveston. Will still be pouring on parts of Brazoria County, Galveston County. You will really start to see some of that activity as well. Some of that rain could be over the metropolitan Houston area at 6 o'clock in the morning. But again, we think the worst of this is probably going to be over our coastal counties. And even as we get towards noon tomorrow, if this model is right and the center of circulation is in western parts of Brazoria County, well, the rain is still going to be pouring on Galveston County, southern Liberty County, southern parts of Harris County, and over into Chambers County. So we might not be completely done with this pouring rain until sometime tomorrow afternoon. Now, if you take that actual computer model and add up all the rain that it's forecasting, these are some of the crazy numbers that we're seeing out there: 4, 5, 6 inches of rain. In that yellow area that you see down there, this one computer model is forecasting more than 10 inches of rain is going to be possible as this system, Nicholas, slowly moves along the coast and along our coastal counties. And for that reason, the area that you see here in pink has a high risk for flash flooding according to the Weather Prediction Center. So whenever you see these colors of red and pink from the Weather Prediction Center, that's a situation where you don't want to be driving around and about. You want to be hunkered down, you want to be someplace safe, and you want to wait until the water runs off. So tonight is going to be a very dangerous situation because the rain is going to be coming down hard enough to easily overwhelm the drainage system and cause a lot of street and flash flooding. And I am expecting, when we wake up first thing in the morning, in places like Galveston, places like Texas City, down towards Santa Fe, over towards Angleton, Lake Jackson, and Freeport, for there to be standing water in the roads. By the time we get to Tuesday afternoon and stuff like that, the threat for flooding is going to shift east, and it's certainly going to shift even farther to the east as we head into Wednesday. Here's our latest forecast. We're thinking an 80% chance for rain first thing in the morning. That'll taper down to 30 or 40% in the afternoon, and then rain chances will continue to go down as we start to dry out. But tonight and into tomorrow morning is going to be very dangerous around southeast Texas, especially south of Houston towards the coast, where we can see significant flooding from rain, significant flooding from the storm surge, and some pretty extreme winds, like we've already seen this wind gust up to 76 miles per hour. Let me check it one more time and see what it's saying right now. Oh, looks like I've just gone to a different show there, so we'll take a look at that coming up in just a bit.
We're going to trust the 76 is still accurate, David.
Yeah, I think it's probably still blowing down there.
But in the meantime, we're going to take a little break, give you and our crews a chance to get back realigned for our 9 p.m. newscast.
That's right. So we will see you back here definitely after the NFL game as well. We'll be also streaming again at 9.
Eyewitness News starts with a severe weather alert.
Storm surges submerging the roads in Matagorda Beach. Tropical storm Nicholas is drenching parts of southeast Texas with rain as we speak, especially along the coast. We have crews across the area with a live look at the conditions.
We're also monitoring right now an update on the storm. Harris County officials are set to talk. Let's go straight to Chief Forecaster David Tillman with the latest on the storm that's moving in right now. Hey, David.
I tell you what, I was looking at that video from Reed Timber just a little while ago of him driving up that road right along the coast, and you can see the storm surge coming in. So he was actually driving through the surge. Somewhat of a crazy and a strange situation there. Let's talk about the winds that are howling around southeast Texas. They're now gusting to 41 in Pasadena, 36 in Angleton, 38 in Wharton. But look at Bay City at 52 and look at Palacios at 61. You think that 61 is strong? Well, just a little while ago, about 20 minutes ago, the wind was gusting to 77 miles per hour in Palacios. So we definitely have a tropical storm, a very strong tropical storm. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised in the update that comes out at 10 o'clock tonight if they don't upgrade Nicholas to a hurricane, because we're already getting wind gusts out there to 76 miles per hour measured by the rain gauges. Tropical storm warning in effect for the areas that you see in yellow. That does include Houston and Harris County, but in all of these counties could very easily see tropical storm force wind gusts tonight at 40 miles per hour or better. And we've got to keep this hurricane watch in effect for the reason I just gave you a moment ago. We're already getting wind gusts to more than hurricane strength out there being measured, and because they're holding on to the possibility of issuing a hurricane warning for this particular area. If hurricane force winds do occur, it will be in the areas of pink. And again, it's already happened there in Palacios. So Brazoria County, Matagorda County, Jackson County, Calhoun County, all places that could easily see these wind gusts. Because we've got that wind coming in off the Gulf of Mexico, piling up the water, 2 to 4 foot storm surge going to be possible around Palacios, a 3 to 5 foot storm surge up to San Luis Pass, and then a 2 to 4 foot storm surge around Galveston Bay. High tide for most of those tide reporting locations near Galveston is at between 12 and 12:30 coming up this morning. There's a flash flood watch covering a good bit of the area, not our northern counties, but certainly from Houston to the south until 7 p.m. coming up tomorrow. And here's the latest on Nicholas. Still a tropical storm with 70 mile per hour winds, pressure at 988. It's moving north at about 12. We're going to be making landfall between now and 1 a.m. So we're thinking right around or just before midnight is when the center circulation is going to make landfall, but it's a lopsided system, so the extreme rain and wind is already pushing ashore at this time, and I'll show it to you in just a moment. The latest track has the system moving over Houston about 1 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, but if some of our latest computer models are right, that center of circulation could track a little bit farther to the south, and then after that it's going to slowly move eastward into Louisiana and Mississippi, and because it's going to be moving so slow, southern Louisiana and Mississippi going to have the possibility for flash flooding in the coming days. So here's a look at a radar loop showing those intense thunderstorms out ahead of the center of circulation. They've been so intense that we've got a flash flood warning in effect for parts of Brazoria, Jackson, and Matagorda counties until 10:30. I fully expect this warning to be extended because we continue to get these heavy thunderstorms to wrap in there. The cities involved in that are Brazoria, Freeport, Palacios, and Sweeney. In addition to that, we've seen anywhere from 2.5 to more than 5 inches of rain in that region, and this extremely heavy rain continues to spread from the Gulf of Mexico inland. We've got some breaking news right now. I believe Lena Hidalgo, Harris County judge, is giving a press conference, so let's go right to that.
Traffic, and this is about the biggest thing you could do for yourself and for our first responders, and I can tell you all the first responders we have here are grateful, so thank you. Things are looking relatively good out there right now, but the heaviest times for rain are not yet here. Now we have good news and we have bad news. The good news is we can breathe a little easier when it comes to rainfall amounts. Since our last update this afternoon, the storm has stayed farther toward the coast than expected. And so our forecasters have revised some of the rainfall totals for Harris County. They've revised the rainfall totals downward. That's obviously a good thing. And it's a good thing, but it doesn't mean this thing is over. First of all, the heavier rains aren't expected to come until later tonight. Even with the decreased rainfall projections, we could still see impacts on our roads and even structures the farther south and the farther east you go. The farther north and west you are, the less likely it is you'll feel impacts or heavy impacts from this storm. But ultimately, we do have a tropical system coming through our region tonight, and we can't let our guard down. That's why I'm still here with our full team, and I'm asking you to stay vigilant. The bad news is that based on the latest information, the wind is going to be a bigger factor than we'd initially anticipated. That could mean sustained winds of 30 to 40 miles an hour, gusting to 50 miles an hour. That means falling tree limbs. It means some power line failures, perhaps a downed fence. So just know that that's a possibility. Our Emergency Operations Center here is humming along. We've got a wide array of partners working together. They're staying in close contact with each other. They're preparing for any kind of response that may come our way. We have vehicles, emergency equipment, all of that ready to roll out if needed. I mentioned wind being a factor tonight. CenterPoint is here as well. They're embedded with us in our Emergency Operations Center. They are tracking possible outages. They've got thousands of crew members on standby, ready to repair if needed. What you should do, our guidance from earlier still stands. Tonight is not a safe time to be out and about. So if you aren't already home, please get home and stay there until the storm passes. If for some reason you're not home, do not drive through flooded roadways, particularly at night. At this time, you cannot tell if the water is 1 inch deep or if the water is 5 feet deep. Don't take that chance. Every time there's heavy rain, we see people drown, we see vehicles flooded. Don't take that chance. If you're not seeing heavy rain in your area tonight, we still need you to stay put until the morning. Just because you're not getting rain where you are doesn't mean that there isn't heavy rain where you're going. Great, it's good news for the region, but we can't let our guard down. And being responsible with this storm in this particular situation, with a tropical storm coming through our region, means staying where we are until tomorrow morning. Please, if we do see bigger impacts, use 911 only for emergencies. We want to make sure those lines are clear for true emergencies. If you have a power outage, do not call 911. Report it to CenterPoint. You can track also the outages on the CenterPoint map. It's on readyharris.org, and there you can see any outages and you can see the repair schedule as well. If you do have an emergency, of course, call 911. Tomorrow, when the sun comes up, we'll see any impacts. Check the news before you head anywhere on readyharris.org. We also have a link to the TransStar site where you can see road conditions. So I encourage you to check out the road conditions. Make sure you absolutely tune into the news before you head out. As always, keep your neighbors in mind. We have to take every threat seriously. Be ready to act. And that's what we're doing tonight. So let's hope for a good night. I and my team will be here overnight monitoring the situation, being ready to respond, and I cannot tell you how much it helps us for you all to have gotten off the road, and let's hope this passes without too many major impacts, but we do have to stay vigilant, watch particularly folks to the south and to the east, because this tropical storm is serious and is coming through our region. In Spanish, very briefly, primero le quiero dar las gracias.
And that is the latest update from Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo at the Emergency Center at Transtar. And as she was telling us, she does still want to warn everyone to please stay off the roads tonight. There could be high winds that could bring down trees and power lines. Travel is not advised, even if there's not flooding in your area.
Yeah, she also said before you go in the morning, make sure you check with the news and make sure that, when I say news, I mean us, so make sure you check with us and to get the latest updates as far as the rainfall and also how the roads are looking after the flooding. We want to go back over to Chief Forecaster David Tillman, who is giving us the latest on Nicholas tonight.
Yeah, and my confidence is beginning to grow that our coastal counties is where the brunt of this system is headed coming up overnight. That's where it is right now. That is not to say that we won't have tropical storm force wind gusts in Houston, because I believe we will, and there will be some rain as well. It's just the worst of the activity, the worst of the winds, certainly the surge, and the extremely heavy rain is going to be over our coastal counties. And when we wake up first thing tomorrow morning, I do expect roads to be waterlogged in Brazoria County, Matagorda County, and Galveston County. So if you live in those areas, Chambers County included, you want to make sure that you stay indoors, stay at home until the water begins to recede, and that may not happen until the early to mid-afternoon hours in some of these places that I'm describing right now. So we've got heavy rain. It's in the Gulf of Mexico, spreading inland to parts of Matagorda County near Sargent. The same thing is happening up into parts of Brazoria County. Those regions are under a flash flood warning right now. Rainfall rates not quite as high over Texas City and Galveston, Tiki Island, up towards Crystal Beach and places like that. But the rain that I was showing you just a moment ago down the coast is spreading in that direction. It's going to fall on top of the ground, so they're being saturated by the rain that you're getting right now. And so that is the reason why I'm very concerned about those communities along Interstate 45 in Galveston County and then into Galveston, the city of Galveston itself, for first thing tomorrow morning. Over in Houston, we're right on the edge of the activity. We're seeing light to moderate rain, nothing heavy over Houston. And when you look to the north and west of town, we're not seeing much activity at all. So it's really over our coastal counties where the worst of the activity is occurring at this time. Now, earlier this evening, I did show you that we had a wind gust of 77 miles per hour in Palacios. So we have high confidence that this computer model is right in putting these types of winds in these places during the overnight hours tonight. Winds between 40 and 60 miles per hour are going to be possible over our coastal counties, and some of those higher winds could spread into the Houston metropolitan area first thing in the morning as well. So we could see some winds gusting to more than tropical storm force here as well. Those winds could still be rather breezy even as we get into the midday hours. Now let's take a look at our high resolution future trackage showing that heavy rain continuing to pound, especially our coastal regions, but southern parts of Fort Bend County, southern Harris County, really going to see this torrential rain as we head into the morning hours. And even as we head towards noon and the center circulation is still near just to the west of Angleton, that heavy rain is still going to be pounding places like Chambers County, Galveston County, and possibly even eastern Brazoria County, and even possibly southeastern parts of Harris County. So we've got a long night to go. The worst of it's probably going to be to the south of Houston, but we really just need to keep our antennas up at what is happening. We'll be right back after this.
Eyewitness News has our news crews all over southeast Texas, especially along the coast as the storm comes in.
We don't want to go out live now to Tom Abrams. He is in Freeport tonight. Tom, I see that wind and the rain just whipping there.
And they are. The rain is essentially horizontal at this point from the sustained wind, which I imagine has to be close to 40 miles an hour. I know that 45 minutes ago the gusts were close to 50 miles per hour. We're here at the Freeport Marina, which is essentially between the Brazos River and the beach. And we have seen the rain and the wind consistently increase in irregular intervals over the last several hours since we've been here. When I last saw you, I reported that there were roughly 5,000 people or so without power in Brazoria County. A rough estimate has that number higher, at least 6,000 people at this point. We've also learned from Brazoria County officials in talking with them within the last hour that Surfside Beach has closed its streets at the bridge. They don't want people that close to the beach. They're afraid of intense flooding and storm surge clearly as the storm moves north and inland. Now, we did check on Blue Water Highway, which is the highway that runs right along the coastline. They expect there to be flooding there at this point, or at some point tonight rather, but at this point they have no sustained reports of any flooding or street flooding. But as the rain continues at such levels and the wind continues to drive it inland, we can imagine that this is only the beginning of an accumulation of water that will cause at least street flooding, something well beyond ponding as we get into the evening. Now, for those of you who haven't stood out in these storms before, when the wind drives the rain like this, and much of it coming directly from the coast, some of it is salt water. You can taste it, and it feels like little needles hitting you. Because it is so consistent, we can see it sweeping across the parking lot. I'm not sure. We protected the camera here from some of the wind by placing it right next to our vehicle, but you may be able to see in the street lamps just how violently the wind is whipping this rain as the storm moves north and west in from the Gulf. We will continue to keep you updated as the storm moves ashore here in Freeport and throughout Brazoria County. Reporting live now from the marina in Freeport, Tom Abrams, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
Our thanks to Tom Abrams out there. We'll let him step out of the rain and the wind for a minute and catch his breath along with his photographer. You could tell he was explaining to you how intense it is and how unrelenting the rain is at this hour.
Yeah, we could see it there just whipping. I want to go back over now to Chief Forecaster David Tillman with the latest. David?
Yeah, guys, and what I want to say to Tom and to Ted out there, they're in a region where as we approach the midnight hour, the surge is going to get worse and worse. So they're certainly getting pounded by those extreme winds. The rain they're getting torrential rain at this time. They'll be adding to that more coastal flooding due to the storm surge coming in as that center of circulation slowly moves along the coast as we go through the overnight hours. Just in case you didn't see it earlier, we have Tropical Storm Nicholas here with 70-mile-per-hour winds. Is moving to the north at about 12 miles per hour, pressure at 988 millibars. Let's go to Weather Source 2 if you don't mind. It basically has a tower cam of Houston and what's happening out there. Look how quiet it is over Houston, and now contrast that with what is happening in Galveston. That rain is coming in sideways, just like you saw there in Freeport a moment ago with Tom Abrams. You can't even see Seawall Boulevard because the rain is coming down so hard. And this is not even the heaviest rain that is going to fall in Galveston overnight tonight. So all this is really doing is saturating the ground and getting things ready for the heavier rain that's coming in. If you look closely there, you can see some of the big waves coming in there as well. The high tides won't occur until sometime between 12 and 12:30 in the morning. Here's a look at those wind gusts, currently gusting to 46 in Galveston, not too far from Tom there in Angleton. Tom's in Freeport, the winds gusting to 41, gusting to 41 in Pasadena now, 20 in Tomball. So certainly is blowing in Houston, but it's really blowing to the south and west gusts gusting to 59 in Bay City. Same thing for Palacios. The wind gust earlier this evening in Palacios gusted to 71 miles per hour. That's as this really heavy band of rain was passing by there. Now, one thing that appears to be encouraging to me is that the heaviest of the rain is just offshore. We were actually expecting that to be a little bit onshore and giving Houston a better chance of seeing some of the really heavy rain tonight. But because the extreme rains are just offshore, maybe us in Houston won't see quite as much rain as what we were thinking we were going to see earlier today. But those coastal counties will continue to get pounded by this extremely heavy rain coming up overnight. And so that's the reason why I'm most concerned about, again, Matagorda County, Brazoria County, Galveston County, and eventually Chambers County. This flash flood warning goes until 10:30 tonight. We've already seen anywhere from 2.5 to 5 inches of rain. The rain continues to come down every now and then with these heavy bands of storms there just offshore from Freeport and Sargent. We're seeing some little eddies coming, little areas of spin and rotation. So there could be some water spouts in this that can make it to shore and be brief tornadoes as well. That's something we will continue to watch. So as bad as that camera shot looked a little while ago in Galveston, you can tell by looking at Doppler radar that that is not even the most intense activity. That is coming later on tonight. Things will only get worse, but I think we're just far enough to the north in Houston that we're probably, for the most part, going to see light to moderate rain with very gusty winds. Watch out for the winds, but the extreme rains might stay just to the south of Houston, but still clip the southern part of Harris County and down into parts of Pearland and Friendswood and places like that. Here is a look at those the wind gust forecast for the area. It's saying the extreme winds will continue spreading eastward into Galveston between now and midnight. That's also when the storm surge is going to begin to eclipse as well. 3 o'clock in the morning, we still have tropical storm force winds gusting well into tropical storm force at that particular time, 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. This model is saying that as we approach sunrise tomorrow, some of those gusty winds will make it into Houston. So we might get just enough rain overnight. When you combine that with tropical storm force winds, for some of those trees to come down, and that would then give us some power outages. So watch out for that. And here is one more look at our future track. It shows, and it's a pretty good idea where the storm is right now and where that intense band of rain is located. So if we put this into motion, we go to 10 o'clock, that's where it's going to be located. We go to 3 o'clock in the morning, because this is such a slow-moving storm system, those heavy rains are still going to be pounding Brazoria County, eastern parts of Matagorda County, into Galveston County, Chambers County, and the southern parts of Fort Bend and Harris counties as well. We go towards 6 o'clock in the morning. Look at this. Those heavy rain and thunderstorm bands are still sitting over the same areas. And as we get towards noontime, if this model is right, well, the heavy rain would have just moved out of Galveston. If we see that type of scenario overnight tonight, that's basically going to mean that many of the roads in Galveston County, Brazoria County, and Chambers County will be inundated with water by the time we wake up first thing tomorrow morning. A very dangerous situation. We'll be right back with more what's happening with Nicholas right after this break.
Welcome back, where we are awaiting landfall of this storm, Nicholas. Of course, the meteorologist telling us they do expect it to hit just before midnight tonight. We want to go out live now to ABC 13 reporter Ted Oberg. He is in Sargent, where Nicholas is expected to make landfall here in less than 2 hours. Ted.
Yeah, Chauncey, all evening, really, since dark, it has been getting steadily worse, and the wind now is really the worst that we've certainly felt. The rain momentarily letting up, but when it comes in absolute sheets, and as Tom Abrams was saying, it's sort of salty because it's coming right off the Gulf and whipped up into the air. You can see the flags behind me, the billboard behind it about to go into the creek behind me here. We've likely seen the full 3 to 5 foot of storm surge, also possibly with a tide rise here at this boat landing. We certainly have seen that. Across the area, power is out and continues to go out. That flash you just saw in the sky, lightning that we've seen all around us now for the last 40 minutes. Haven't heard any thunder except once, but plenty of lightning as this storm continues to come on shore. There are very few people out on the streets here in southern Matagorda County, which is great. The few that we have, we've talked to them. They are out checking on neighbors to make sure they're okay. One woman told us that she is anxious about her roof getting damaged. Certainly in this wind, that's a possibility. But the water coming up over the roads now, not running across the roads, say from the Gulf to the intercoastal, but it is up over the roads in places because the ditches just can't take this much rain. There were no evacuations, Chauncey and Elisa, down here, and that may be something that some people wish there had been, because this is a storm in the middle of the night, and it is awfully unsettling at this point to be completely in the dark, no light as far as I can see, and just a half an hour ago, there had been plenty of it. It is going to be a tough time here in Sargent as this wind continues to whip, the rain continues to fall. By sunup, hopefully, this will be out of the way and people will begin to assess the damage. But certainly there will be water up in places that it wasn't up this afternoon. When we come back, Chief Forecaster David Tillman back with us to figure out just how soon it'll get here.
is ABC 13 Eyewitness News at 9 p.m. on CW39.
Tropical storm Nicholas is bringing wind, rain, and storm surge to parts of southeast Texas, especially along the coast.
Let's get straight over to Chief Forecaster David Tillman with the very latest, and we're also wanting to know, when is Nicholas expected to make landfall?
Well, the center of circulation is going to make landfall just before midnight coming up tonight, but because this is a lopsided storm, the really bad part of the storm is going to make landfall. Well, it's actually happening right now and will continue to pound the coast as we head through the midnight hour and actually overnight tonight, because this is going to be a slow moving system as it slowly moves through our coastal counties coming up tonight. I do see some people driving along Seawall Boulevard there, so at least there's not rain, there's not deep water on Seawall Boulevard. Of course, there wouldn't be because that's on top of the Galveston seawall. On the corner here, you do see some waves, angry waves coming in off of the Gulf of Mexico, and there's certainly torrential rain that's falling in Galveston right now. If you're in Galveston and you're saying to yourself, wow, the rain is really coming down, I'm thinking the rain is going to be heavier later on tonight when that main band of rain moves in from the right around the center of circulation of Nicholas. So you've got some heavier rain coming, and I continue to get computer models that say our coastal areas could get 10 to as much as 15 inches of rain overnight, and for that reason, there's a high risk for flash flooding. Not a night to be out, and you probably will need some time in the morning as well, because it's going to be a little while for that water to recede, because we've got so much rain that's coming down, and because the surge is coming in that flow off of the Gulf of Mexico that's not going to allow a lot of that water to drain. We're seeing wind gusts in the 40s and 50 mile per hour range, almost 60 miles per hour in Bay City and in Palacios. Earlier this evening, the wind gusted to 76 miles per hour there in Palacios, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if winds in this band right here, very near Matagorda, which is hugging the Matagorda County coastline, isn't gusting to 60 and 70 miles per hour as we speak. So that's a very dangerous band of rain that is occurring there. I'm seeing a lot of lightning with it as well. So that's a very intense band that's producing rain at 1, 2, 3, 4 inches an hour. Flash flood warning in effect for this particular area until 10:30. Things are starting to look better around the town of Palacios, but the rain is still coming down around Sargent and Matagorda and over into southwest parts of Brazoria County, where conditions will continue to go downhill as we head through the evening. We've heard Ted and Tom talk about lightning not too far from where they're located. Ted is here, Tom is there in Freeport, and you can see all the lightning with those intense rain bands offshore. That rain will continue spreading inland as we go through the night, as that area of low pressure tracks northeast along the coast. And that means the rain that you're seeing right now in Galveston will only get heavier as we go through the night. We've got basically light to moderate rain falling in Houston. You go to the northwest part of Harris County, it's not raining at all, but it's windy all over the region. We're seeing winds gust to a tropical storm force inside Harris County, and that will continue overnight tonight as this center of circulation moves in a northeasterly direction. There's heavy rain at midnight, pounding the areas that I was showing you just a moment ago. As we get towards 3 o'clock in the morning, the rain will continue to pound Brazoria County, Galveston County, Chambers County, and even Harris County to a certain extent, but the heaviest of the activity will be farther to the south. 6 o'clock in the morning, it will still be pouring in Galveston. So you've seen those scenes before in Galveston where you get torrential rain like this. Broadway goes underwater, the Strand goes underwater, many of the other low-lying areas on the island go underwater. We're forecasting that to happen tonight because of all this heavy rain that's coming through, and that is a very real possibility in places like Texas City, Santa Fe, and areas like that as well, as these torrential rains continue to pound this region. And even as late as noontime tomorrow, with the center of circulation still in our vicinity, there could still be some heavy downpours near the coast, but things will probably be calming down in Houston. Now, here's a map I've been trying to get to all evening. You go north and west of town, not much rain is going to fall as well at all, but you go from Houston on to the south, and we're going to see some really high rainfall totals. This is a computer model saying that between between now and noontime, a place like Pearland down towards Galveston, 5 to 10 inches of rain. These computer models don't do the best of jobs of saying exactly where the heaviest rain is going to fall, but this basically gives us an idea that this type of activity is going to be possible, and for that reason, that area is under a high risk for flash flooding coming up for tonight. This quick look at the extended forecast. Things do get better with time. 80% chance in the morning, a 40% chance in the afternoon, and the system will certainly be gone by Wednesday because it's not going to stall. But overnight tonight and first thing tomorrow morning, things are going to be quite bad, especially south of Houston towards the immediate coast.
David, thank you. And we also have crews in Texas City.
Steve Camping is there live showing us what he's seeing right there tonight.
Chauncey, the rain has been consistent throughout the day, but it's safe to say that we are now kind of feeling those tropical rains out here. Take a look at this Kroger parking lot. You can see the light up there. That's just an indication of how this rain is kind of coming at you sideways. In the past 30, 45 minutes, we've really seen the rain pick up here in Texas City. I will say we've really run the gamut today. We've gone from Texas City up through Kemah, up through Seabrook. We went over to Nassau Bay. And fortunately, we didn't see a lot of people out on the roadways. So this is 146. Let's turn this camera around. And if you've been to this part of Texas City, you know that Palmer right here is prone to flood when we get heavy rains out here. So you're looking live right now in Texas City, and we're not seeing that water pond there on the roads. That's the good news out here. Again, you are seeing light traffic, but certainly it has been worse out here. The rain, again, picking up in the past 30 to 45 minutes or so. We will certainly monitor conditions out here and bring it to you live as they happen. Reporting live in Texas City, Steve Campion, 13 Eyewitness News.
All right, Steve, be careful out there. Thank you.
And we are also checking in with other crews across the coast. Let's go now to Tom Abrams. We talked with him earlier. He is really getting the brunt of the storm as it comes in. He is in Freeport tonight, and we're hearing a lot about things really shutting down in the area of Surfside and Freeport, Tom.
Absolutely right. They have shut down 332 heading into Surfside. There is a lot of water coming in from the Gulf. We understand the Blue Water Highway is seeing water crossing the dunes. Surfside itself is without power. We believe that the number of outages now between Texas, New Mexico Power and Centerpoint are somewhere in the neighborhood of 7,000 who are without power. We've seen a couple of transformers pop here within the last 20 minutes or so as these sustained winds, which have to be close to, if not exceeding, tropical storm strength, continue to drive the rain and accumulate the water here in coastal Brazoria County. They have been most concerned about street flooding. They did evacuate the beaches. They've been trying to keep people off the beaches because of the potential storm surge. I know David mentioned after our last report that that would be a real concern. That's in part why we're not on that side. We're not on the beach. We're actually here at the marina, which is between the Brazos River and the beach. It's a much safer place to be. Higher ground is much less likely to get stuck should the water start coming up in all directions. Of course, we have teams of reporters and photographers all up and down the coast as this storm comes ashore. We'll be bringing you live reports throughout the night, along with our team of meteorologists who are expertly telling us what will happen over the next coming hours, and we'll have more of it when we come back.
Welcome back here to the news at 9 o'clock. We are keeping a very close eye and tracking Nicholas tonight. The tropical storm is expected to make landfall right here in our area out there in Matagorda County just before midnight tonight.
We are taking you down I-45, the Gulf Freeway. That's where we find Brianna Connor in the Clear Lake area, telling us what people are doing there to protect themselves from the storm should it bring rain and flooding to that area.
Yeah, the good news, Elisa, is that people are seemingly staying home. Check this out. This is NASA Road 1 right behind me. We aren't too terribly far from the Johnson Space Center out here. But, you know, there's not a whole lot of people out. Just a couple of folks coming up to this intersection. And if you look at the roads, you can see there is no ponding. We've been getting rain kind of at the same rate for about an hour, hour and a half now. And so it doesn't seem like it's been too much to overwhelm the drainage systems out here, which is, again, really good news. The wind has been up and down since we've been out here. A couple of gusts that had me hanging on to my hat, but certainly nothing as intense as we're seeing out near the coast in those areas. But so far, so good for these folks out here who are preparing for the worst. I talked to somebody who experienced Hurricane Harvey, lost his car and that, and so he said with this, he didn't want to take too many chances, though he got off work, came out here to the gas station to put some fuel in his vehicle. Listen to what he told me. Is this your first storm in the area, or have you been through several here in Houston?
I've been through several. I lost my first car to Harvey, so yeah.
How did you prepare for Nicholas?
I'm not prepared at all, but I do got some groceries at home, and I got some gas, so I think this will be okay for now.
Yeah, and he actually told me he was headed straight home after getting gas here at this station just to ride things out, as officials in Harris County have asked people to do. But again, taking a look behind me, just light rain coming down right now. It's at a slant, not really even sideways because of the wind. And so far, it's so good out here in Clear Lake. But we'll be here keeping an eye on conditions, let you know if things ramp up or deteriorate as the night goes on. Live in Clear Lake, I'm Brianna Connor, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
Our thanks to Brianna for that report. And Chief Forecaster David Tillman has really been keeping an eye on the specifics, where you're feeling the wind, where you're seeing the heavy rainfall, and of course, the projected storm surge as well.
Yeah, and it appears to continue to pound coastal areas. We've been monitoring our Galveston tower cam. Looks like some damage has occurred there on the roof where this camera is located. You see the little flap that continues to come up there every now and then. Every now and then the screen freezes as well because it's very windy in Galveston, and things are only going to get worse. If you think it's bad right now, in a few more hours, the rain is going to pick up and the wind is going to pick up as well as the center of circulation with Nicholas gets a little bit closer to that particular area. Here is a look at the latest wind gust map and what's happening. Latest wind gusts at the airport there in Galveston, 35 miles per hour, 41 in Pasadena, 46 in Angleton, 60 in Bay City, and 59 in Plashes. But you see this little area right here near the center of circulation? That's where winds are probably gusting close to 70 miles per hour. We already got a 76, 77 mile an hour wind gust in Palacios earlier this evening, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the winds aren't still gusting to that level in the vicinity of Sargent and creeping up on Freeport, where Tom Abrams is located right now. So some extreme winds down there where Tom Abrams and where Ted Oberg are currently reporting. Here's the center of circulation as of the latest advisory. We're expecting another advisory to come out within the next 10 to 15 minutes or so, but it appears that the heavy rain is beginning to pull over here, and to these eyes, it looks like this system is moving a little bit more to the east than to the northeast. If you recall, the last advisory had the center of circulation coming right over the city of Houston. I'm thinking it's going to be tracking right over our coastal counties. It'll be very interesting to see what we get from the National Hurricane Center when the new advisory comes out. So this is the flash flood warning that's been in effect until 10:30. This is a brand new flash flood warning that has been reissued for Lake Jackson. It does include include Angleton, and it stretches all the way over towards Galveston. This particular flash flood warning goes until 1:45 in the morning. So we have several more hours of that, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see that particular warning extended because it's going to take a while to get all this extremely heavy rain out of there. In addition to that, we're seeing a lot of lightning with this particular band in the vicinity of Matagorda and just to the south of Sargent. That's an indication of a very intense eye wall, if you will, that's surrounding the center of circulation. And so there's going to be extreme rain and extreme wind and lightning and thunder with that particular band. And as it continues to move up the coast this evening, that band is going to continue to bring the water in off of the Gulf of Mexico, piling up on those coastal areas. And the National Hurricane Center has been saying all along that 3 to 5 feet of storm surge is going to be possible. So 1:45 in the morning for this particular flash flood warning. It does include Angleton, Galveston, Lake Jackson, and Texas City. As we look at what's happening around Houston, rainfall rates here not quite high enough for any flash flood warnings, but roads are certainly wet from downtown to the east and to the south. Here's what Future Track is saying is going to happen with this system as it slowly moves to the north and east along the coast. It's going to continue to push these extremely heavy rains through parts of Brazoria, Galveston County, southern parts of Fort Bend County, southern parts of Harris County, and then eventually into parts of Chambers and Liberty counties as we head through the overnight hours. 6 o'clock in the morning, the rain, torrential rain could still be occurring in places like Galveston, and I'm very concerned for low-lying areas of Galveston because the water doesn't have anywhere to drain, and because extreme rain is going to be coming down overnight, that there's going to be some significant flooding there first thing in the morning. As we get towards noontime, there could still be some rain around there, and then we'll finally begin to see that activity move out of there. And here is the latest rain projection from the same computer model I showed you just a moment ago, and it's saying that within this region here, somewhere in Galveston County, Brazoria County, maybe Chambers County, anywhere from 5 to 10 inches of rain is going to be possible. And we're also seeing in some of the data that some places could have a storm total getting closer to 15 inches, and that is the reason why a high risk for flash flooding is in effect for those particular areas. Now, by tomorrow, the main threat for flash flooding is going to move a little farther to the east. It will clearly be in Louisiana by the time we get to Wednesday, so we're most concerned about what's going to happen overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. Finally, as we get into tomorrow afternoon, that water will start to recede and things will start to get better by then. In the meantime, we're going to keep you updated on what's happening with these storms overnight tonight. We'll have more on this situation coming up in just a few moments.
And here is a look at a map of power outages from CenterPoint. About 22,000 customers are currently without power. The largest cluster of outages are along the coast in Galveston and in the Angleton area. The city of Houston is canceling some services tomorrow because of the weather.
Yeah, that's right. Mayor Sylvester Turner says all testing and vaccine sites operated by the Houston Health Department are closed tomorrow. Solid waste services are also suspended and will resume come Wednesday. And municipal courts are also closed tomorrow and will start back up Wednesday as well.
Let's check in with Chief Forecaster David Tillman. He gives us some insight as to what is going to happen as we head through the overnight hours. David.
Yeah, I got a storm report here from the National Weather Service. State Highway 332 from County Road 690 to Surfside Beach is closed due to flooding. And that's not just because of heavy rain. That's also because of the storm surge that is coming in there to Surfside Beach. So we've all been down there to the beaches, Surfside Beach near Freeport. Very dangerous situation. You do not want to be driving around and about there. Still waiting for the update from the National Hurricane Center, but at last check, 70-mile-an-hour tropical storm is what we're dealing with. We've got flash flood warnings in effect for parts of Matagorda County due to this intense band of rain. It's sitting just south of Sargent that continues to rotate in there. And now Galveston is under a flash flood warning. This one goes until 1:45 in the morning. Torrential rain is falling there. It appears that the worst of the rain with the system is going to stay to the south of Houston. Some places near the coast could get as much as 15 inches of rain overnight tonight and first thing tomorrow morning.
All right, David, thank you. And thank you for spending your evening with us. You can wake up tomorrow morning first thing with Eyewitness News as well.
Be safe out there, friends. Take care. All right, welcome to ABC13.com or wherever you're watching us. This is our digital coverage. Of course, all day we have been keeping a very close eye tracking Nicholas. Right now, a tropical storm headed our way, set to make landfall just before midnight.
We have Eyewitness News crews all across the region, specifically along the coast, where we are really starting to see the effects of the storm as the worst of it is coming ashore. ABC 13 reporter Ted Oberg is live in Sargent, where Nicholas is expected to make landfall very soon, Ted, and I'm not surprised at all by the looks of the scene behind you.
No, I thought you were going to say the look on my face. It is miserable. And you can see those trees just whipping behind me. And really what is absolutely amazing, Elisa and Chauncey, is the amount of rain that's falling. You can sort of see it in the lights of our truck here just off the front. Excuse me. You can see it is just buckets full of rain. I mean, it's amazing to me. This is certainly the most intense rain we've seen, definitely the most intense wind, and that lightning and thunder that we've been talking about now for about an hour and a half still continues to swirl around us as the eye gets closer and closer here to Sargent. There is no power down here. We are at a gas station where there was power about an hour ago. The only light now being provided by our truck, and homes throughout here are in the dark as well. It has to be awfully concerning. Down here in Sargent, which is at the bottom of Matagorda, sort of below the city of Matagorda, there are a lot of homes built on canals. And so as the water rises, without any light, you can't see how high it's getting. It does not appear to be in any danger of getting into these homes, as they're all built up on stilts. But the water is significantly up close to the roads, in some places ponding on the roads, but not necessarily running across. The wind, likely serious enough to do some damage to some homes that maybe not as substantially built. Newer beach homes should certainly be able to withstand this level of wind. But if David and Travis and the team tell us that this has risen to hurricane level, absolutely no surprise, because it was close about an hour ago, Chauncey and Elisa. It has definitely gotten worse since then. We may see now the 5 miles an hour extra to get it into hurricane status. Certainly I am sort of protected where I'm standing, would not stand there in the middle of that driveway where that wind and the rain is just driving across this area. For people here in Sargent, it will be a very long night. As I've said before, no evacuations have been ordered down here, and it appears many people have left on their own, but now it's absolutely impossible to tell because no one has power, and the few tells that we had when we could see a light on at a home in the distance, those are all out now. It is going to be a very tough night, and we certainly want to warn you as this storm moves north and east and off the coast and into more populated areas. This is not a storm to take lightly just because it's a tropical storm or just because it's a low-level hurricane. Don't take it lightly. This is a serious storm. We were in Ida just a couple weeks ago, and certainly that was a much worse storm, but don't just completely write this one off, because there will be effects of this throughout our area, and we're certainly feeling them here down in Sargent. Chauncey and Elisa.
Ted, thanks so much. And as Ted was just saying, you know, he can feel that this seems like a hurricane. And in fact, we do now have confirmation as a weather report that this has become Hurricane Nicholas. The winds have raised to that level.
Yeah, the winds have been there at 70 miles per hour for most of the night. We were waiting for it to go past that 75 miles per hour mark so we could officially call it Hurricane Nicholas. But I hear our meteorologists over here in the Weather Center confirming that it is now a hurricane, Hurricane Nicholas. You want to go out to Tom Abrams now, who is in Freeport. And Tom, I don't know if you're hearing all of this, but Nicholas, now a hurricane.
I am hearing it. It's a little difficult above this violent gust that we've gotten, which I know is in excess of 50 miles an hour. Our chief meteorologist, Rachel Pryor, is keeping me apprised of this we're feeling, putting numbers to what it is we've experienced here. And we know this is well in excess of 50 miles an hour. And at this speed, the rain begins to hurt a little bit as it hits you across the face. You can feel it completely soaked through. Nobody is out here, thankfully. Now, we're protected by where we've chosen to be, but it seems as if the people of Brazoria County have taken heed of what their elected leaders have told them to do, and that is stay home and stay off the streets. It is not safe to be out here. We know Surfside is without power now. They have limited access to Surfside. We know the Blue Water Highway is taking on water, and that ocean water, the surge, is covering parts of that highway is going into the dunes on the other side of it. We are here between the Brazos River and the beach itself. You may or may not have been able to tell that the lights around us, many of them just went off as the number of outages continues to increase. Centerpoint saying just within the last 15 minutes or so that they know they have outages and that they are substantial, and they cannot give a time as to when the power will be turned back on for those who've lost power. Now, many of the people here in Brazoria County also have Texas, New Mexico power. They also are seeing some substantial outages given the numbers of people who live here. This been a consistent increase in the sustained winds of this type of speed, and the rain that we've seen, we imagine, as Ted has shown us, is only going to get worse in the coming hours. Reporting live from Brazoria County, Freeport, Tom Abrams, ABC13 Eyewitness News.
Our thanks to Tom Abrams, who has been bringing us those details about now Hurricane Nicholas. It is official from the National Weather Center.
Let's go straight to Chief Forecaster David Tillman.
Yeah, and if you've been watching those live shots from both Ted and Tom this evening, they've been showing a storm that has been intensifying into a hurricane. You could really see it there on the cameras, and the National Hurricane Center is saying the same thing. We now have Hurricane Nicholas that has now prompted hurricane warnings for a part of our coastline because it's already producing hurricane conditions at the coast. Max winds are at 75 miles per hour. The location is 28.4 north, 95.8 west. Pressure is at 988 millibars, so that's just about the same as it was just a little while ago, and it's moving to the north at about 10 miles per hour at this particular time, according to the National Hurricane Center. So let's put this into motion and see what's happening there. Again, we've got those hurricane warnings now that have been extended from Port O'Connor up to, what was that you said just a moment ago, Travis?
Port O'Connor to Freeport.
Port O'Connor to Freeport is where the hurricane warning goes to at this particular time. Now, here's the latest track from the National Hurricane Center. They still bring the center circulation up towards the Houston area at about 7 o'clock in the morning. Then they curve it east, and it's going to be moving slowly, basically along the Interstate 10 corridor into parts of Louisiana, making it just past Lake Charles around Lafayette sometime on Thursday afternoon. That is a very slow-moving hurricane, and anytime you get slow-moving hurricanes or tropical storms, you know the story. They can produce tremendous rains, and that's exactly what we expect this particular one to produce. So there's the hurricane warning that is now in effect. You see it in that pink color right there, and you can see all of the other tropical storm warnings that are in effect as well. And we also have storm surge warnings that are in effect because as this system continues to move along the coast, it's going to bring a lot of water into our coastal regions. They're closing roads around Surfside Beach because the storm surge is coming in, and high tide won't occur over most of these areas until sometime between midnight and about 12:30 in the morning. So that water is going to continue to come up, and they continue to forecast 3 to 5 feet of water on normally dry ground near the immediate coast there, Brazoria County and places like that. There's a look outside in Houston. Things are quiet here. It is really blowing there in Galveston. We continue to see part of the roof here where our camera is located being damaged by this wind that continues to blow there. The wind is now gusting to 44 miles per hour in Galveston, 46 in Angleton, 60 in Bay City, and 61 in Palacios. About an hour and a half ago, Palacios had a wind gust of 77 miles per hour, and that is as this band of extremely heavy rain and storm was moving by there. So it's clearly moved away from Palacios. It's moving away from Matagorda at this time, but those of you around and just south of Sargent, you're being hit by some hurricane force winds, no doubt right now, and extremely heavy rain, and that will continue to spread up the coast into Lake Jackson, into Freeport, into Surfside Beach, and continue to bring that water in. And because that water is coming in, and because you have torrential rain at the same time, that rain has nowhere to drain to. So this is a rapidly changing situation in that there's going to be a lot of flooding in and around Lake Jackson and Freeport because of that. This particular flash flood warning goes until 10:30 in the morning, and it's due to this slow-moving band of thunderstorms that continues to hug the coast. All of that is going to be moving up towards the Galveston and Texas City areas that have just put under a flash flood warning. This warning goes until 1:45 in the morning, and I'm pretty sure it is going to be extended farther into the night. Angleton, Galveston, Lake Jackson, Texas City, some of the communities that are within that particular flash flood warning. Rain does extend into the downtown Houston area, but it's nowhere near as heavy as what we're seeing farther to the south. So here is Future Track. It shows this area of low pressure continuing to slowly move up the coast, and as it does, it will continue to bring the storm surge in and heavy rain to our coastal counties especially, but some of that may make it into southern Harris County coming up as well. 6 o'clock in the morning, that heavy rain is still going to be located there, and with a slow-moving storm system moving by, it is still going to be around as we head into the noontime hour. So we have several more hours of this activity to go. Computer models forecasting up to 10 inches so more of rain in that particular region, and that is the reason why we are under a high risk for flash flooding for tonight due to the slow movement of what is now Hurricane Nicholas.
David, thank you. And as we mentioned, we've seen Ted Oberg and we've seen Tom Abrams there along the coast. Further inland, we do have some reporters because we know the effects of this, especially due to the rain. We'll be feeling that inland as well.
Yeah, in some of those areas, it does not take a lot for it to flood, but we've had consistent rain here today and tonight. We want to go out live now to Brooke Taylor. She is in Angleton. Brooke?
That's right, guys. You could see it's starting to pick up right now, that wind and rain over here. I'll show you a look at what's going on. We've seen different periods of times where the wind will start to pick up and that rain will start to come down just a little bit harder. Now, we just came from Richmond. Over there, our drive on 288, really just some light rain, and now we're starting to again see it start to pick up. On our ride down here, not too many people on the roadways, so everyone listening to officials, it seemed, staying inside as the now hurricane continues to progress into the area. Over here at Buc-ee's, not a lot of people here. The people that were filling up on gas told us that they weren't too concerned. Most of them were headed home to spend the night indoors before it did get worse. Now, I did speak with one person. He says his brother is in Surfside, that is right now, and he's starting to feel the effects because they're obviously closer to the coast. Take a listen to what he had to say.
So he just texted me and let me know that he's in Surfside right now and they got 3 feet of water. But typically over there, if you get a good rain, the roads are covered. So, but I was just talking to my dad on the phone. He was kind of harping on me. He was like, "You shouldn't be driving right now," but I don't think it's that bad.
Listen to his dad. Stay off those roads, like officials are saying as well. I also spoke with the Office of Emergency Management. They've been activated since this morning. So far, they say they haven't gotten too many calls except close to the coast. So that's where they're getting the calls now. But again, no matter where you are asked to stay inside. Stay off those roads. We'll continue to bring you the very latest. We're live in Arlington. Brooke Taylor, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
Brooke, thanks for the very latest out there.
All right, so we are going to wrap up here momentarily. We do have our chief meteorologist and chief forecaster, Travis and David, continuing to look over the latest updates on this storm. Our news crews are still spread out all along the Texas coast, and we'll be bringing you updates here again, as I mentioned, momentarily. We'll sign off for now. Stay safe, stay well. We'll see you back here in just a few minutes.